Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Jeff is busy trying to work out why he's buzzing tonight. I said he's been smoking
Hello, Mr.
too much.
Boxes.
I know why.
Oh, is that what it is? That green stuff?
Well, I'm hoping.
Is that the Mountain Dew of IPAs?
Was that called
does-
basement beer? Are you drinking basement beer?
Yes,
Good
because
evening,
I'm in.
Mike Kuipers.
I'm in my basement. It's Scofflaw
Basement. Oh,
Basement India Pale Ale.
Oh, very
Nick
good.
Camacho sounds very quiet to me again.
Yep, he does.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you run away from your mic or something?
I moved it back a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you moved it back too much.
I was trying to get it out of the picture.
No, I don't. I want it in the picture.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Mine's in the picture.
I like
Mine's
mics in the
not.
picture.
Okay.
Mine's not.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I don't. I guess I should say, I do not mind having a mic in the picture. Because I just want the close proximity.
Nick Camacho.
Check that out. Oh no, I'm
Yeah,
showing
okay.
Jeff. Jeff sent me this arm.
Oh yeah, good. How's it working out?
It's great.
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
100 times better than the one I had before.
Excellent. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of noise and stuff, does it?
Nope. And it's like it really is much more compact. I didn't think I'd notice the compactness of it because they both kind of have two beams. Mm-hmm. I don't know. The geometry of this one just works a lot better.
Excellent. Well, I'm happy that worked out. Yeah, he got a new Motu not new, slightly
new
used
yeah.
Motu M2 interface, which is the same interface that Liz and Steph use, and Rick has one. He just doesn't use it.
I don't understand that.
I have one, but you can have it back if you want now because I've got this X-Air.
Did I get you one too?
Yeah.
Oh, look at you hoarding all the
Guys,
equipment.
Yes, I do. I have a Scarlet, a Motu,
Dang.
and the
You guys love
X-Air.
your
So
equipment.
I'm just wait
I don't
till
even
I've
wanna
got
tell you.
enough gear to start my own podcast.
Yeah, well, I think you have enough now.
He keeps threatening.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about how many things I have. But
Yeah.
because I just like the gear.
Yeah, of
I'm a
course.
gearhead.
Absolutely, yeah.
Gear.
All
What was
will
it?
become clear, Neil, what his background is all about.
It's called gas. Gear.
Acquisition.
Syndrome.
Acquisition syndrome. That's it.
Very
All I
good.
know is gas. Whatever that
it.
stands for.
Jeff
I
has
have a lot of
gas.
gas. I have a
You
lot of
have
gas. Anyway, so how is everybody happy with our relative levels? Not of intelligence, but sound, volume. Hey, Greg Peterson, Big Ass Crane Company.
You were in Lexington yesterday.
I
right?
was.
You know, I've
Passing
stopped
through.
wearing that T-shirt in protest against your redundancy.
I know.
So it's now been put down.
Still love my
It's
fannies.
now a dog walking T-shirt, whereas it used to be a show T-shirt. My big ass fan.
I'm looking for my cap, but I think it's in the car.
Show
A
t-shirt.
big ass fan hat.
Yeah.
I do use the pint glass quite often. I don't know what happened to the
Mecca
shirt.
says you're louder than everybody else, Jeff.
Me? Okay. Let me back it down. Back it down.
Who else we got in there? We said hello to Mike, Sultan of Wings. I love that name.
Michael Kuipers.
We have a band here in
Tim
Toronto
Van
called the
Rand,
Sultan of Strings.
course.
I think the Sultan of Wings is Brad Nunn in Charlotte. If that is correct, please let us know.
Oh, Greg got rid of all of his shirts.
Gina, hi,
Did
Gina.
you burn them in a funeral pyre?
Gina.
Gina
Get my lots of
Calabrese.
Oh, that sounds
Which sounds like a
Norwegian.
kind of-
Where?
It sounds like a kind of pizza.
It does. I was going to say it sounds more.
To the point of overmodulating,
Italian.
says Micah.
Oh, what? Me? Still?
That sounds good to me, but
Okay. Oh, whoa.
Whoa.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. Now
What
you're
happened there?
loud.
Holy crap.
that's bad.
That'll upset the apple cart.
It's interesting. This control surface, when you first connect it, it has like redundant controls on the actual interface, and you kind of sometimes have to move these little knobs around to get it to go. Oh, you want me to use this one here? Oh, okay. And okay, make a joke about me moving my knobs around.
Your little knob.
Thank you. Okay, is that better? Am I lower volume or is it still too loud?
It's okay for me, but
What do you think, Micah? I don't want to overmodulate.
who else?
No over.
Hi, boxes. Good evening, Neil. Neil Lamorne. Hello, sir.
Gene, I was just kidding about Calabrese. Braise? How do you say that again? Calabrese? Calabrese, being Norwegian. It definitely sounds Italian. That's Italian. That's a spicy meatball. What?
Oh, no.
Can't hear you at all, Liz.
Something bad just happened.
You just bumped your Motu interface.
No, I didn't bump anything. My
Two keeps turning itself on and off.
Oh, that's no good. Hey, I wonder if anybody on the crew has an extra Motu interface that they could send you.
Yeah, really.
Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to plug in. I need to hardwire, man. I need to hardwire.
Micah says you're still too hot.
Thanks, Micah. I think you're hot, too. Okay. Oh, shit. Excuse me. Shoot. Shoot.
Darn. Heck.
Darn. Is that better? I'm going to turn it down so low I can't even hear myself.
No, that's too low.
No, you sound okay. Yes, you're a little quiet now.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello, gain.
That's okay.
Gain. Still
Don't
too
gain
loud.
anymore.
Okay, let me go back over here to the share thing, not share, to the settings and audio, and I'm going to move mic volume down even. Now I got it down to 70. Has it made any difference?
No.
A little bit.
To me.
Hello, test. 1, 2, 1, 2.
I think you
3.
sound great.
Me too.
You're just saying that because you want us to get the show going. I know you.
Well, I was up at 6:30, not on purpose. I just woke up because it was raining and thundering.
Okay, I just got to connect the Ethernet cable, and then I'll be ready.
Ah,
Because since I'm paying this for the fiber, I might as well get full use.
quite right too.
Well, Micah finally says it sounds fine now.
Well, yeah, because I'm like 5 feet away from the microphone.
I was going to say, it doesn't sound good to me.
By the way, we were just looking at how salubrious your accommodation was tonight. The background is really nice.
It is, isn't
There,
it?
you've gone to a lot of effort, Jeff.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, with
Untaped
dry walls with a few nails stuck in,
Hey,
an unpainted door frame.
that's where I had the the printed
Background.
poster thing background. But we're selling this house. I don't know if you knew about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking my headphones off so I can't hear what you idiots are saying.
Oh, good. We can talk about him now.
Yeah. Actually, there's not much to say anymore. We've said it all, I think.
So I wonder if any members of the community want to buy APG headquarters just to, as sort of a fan.
Oh, yeah. Well, if they...
Might bid up the price there.
I was going to say, if once he makes it public that this is where the APG headquarters is based,
I know. There'll
I
be
think
tours
it
running
would
by.
bump the price up.
Exactly. And they'll be running bus tours by and everything.
Yeah.
What?
We're saying
Well,
that
I mean,
members of-
if you told the realtor that this is APG headquarters you're selling,
You mean my wife's or former wife's brother, the realtor?
probably. I don't know if he's the realtor.
Yeah, he
there
is.
should be a premium for it being APG former
Yeah.
APG
Well,
headquarters.
that's probably kind of a sensitive subject.
situation,
That
yeah.
might be part of why I'm divorced. You people watching this show.
Yeah, we won't go
Have-
there. Let's move on.
Yeah. Too late.
I'm ready. Who else is ready?
I've been ready for ages. I'm always ready.
Ready?
Wait a
I'm
minute.
ready.
Am I still on? Hang on. Let me get Skype going here. Okay. There we go. All right.
Recorders?
Yep, I just pressed play on mine.
Yep.
Well, if you press play, that's going to make
Well, I
a
pressed
bit
the
of
red
noise, isn't it?
I pressed the red button.
Red
red
button. I'm
Okay.
recording.
That's a button you should.
I am recording. Oh no, that was the button that
No
no pilot
pilot
would
would
ever
ever
push. All right. Well, I guess we should go ahead and do the show.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no getting around it. All right. Here we go.
Okay.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG, it's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 536.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at former APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 7th of September, 2022.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. It's your ride and he's flying by with the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, the pilot of a small plane threatened to ram a Walmart in Mississippi. A Southwest pilot tells passengers to stop airdropping nude photos. More news, your feedback, and today's plane tale, Sherman Smoot, a tribute. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 536 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. Glad to have you back. He is an award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins in
New York City.
All right. You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining me today from
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
his home studio there, professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Good evening, Jeff. Lovely to be on the show again. And I've closed the curtains to hide the rain. So, winter's definitely on its way here. Very sad.
Winter? What about autumn?
Well, I don't know. I think we've jumped a
Okay.
season.
Oh, that's
The gears have slipped.
That's unfortunate. Okay, and also joining us, hey, from his home studio in the air capital, low and slow pilot, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Camacho.
Hey guys, glad to be back with you again.
Glad you're here with us as well, Nick. And also, last but certainly not least, from a place to stand and a place to grow in her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, Liz Piper.
Good day, everyone.
Awesome. And we're hoping that Dr. Steph will join us at some point while the show is in progress. But first, let's do some news.
See you later, guys.
Stand by for news.
Okie doke. Let's start off with. Oh, shoot. Darn it.
What's the matter?
Well,
What happened?
no, I just need to. I need to set up some videos so that I can just hit the little
okay.
button, and start playing and start doing a thing. But right now, I just realized that I have not done any video loading, but it'll just take a second here. So that's okay. Well, a couple of seconds, not a minute.
Okay.
Let's see. Suspect. Where is it?
We once had a vendor at work who we work at very high pace. You know, we struggle with vendors that get stuff to us in like 3 or 4 months. So we had a vendor come in, and he was like, we told him that. He was like, "Oh, we quote in days," and we were like, "Whoa, okay." And then the first quote came back as like 150 days. We were like, "Well, that doesn't do any good."
Yeah, you kind of led us to believe that it would be a little bit. Okay, y'all ready?
Still.
Here we go.
Yep.
Stop that. Okay. All right. Is that better? Okay. I'll just like crack my headphone there so I can actually hear what I'm saying. Okay. I am ready as well. Here we go. Hey, let's start off this news segment with some interesting news in northern Mississippi. This is from one of the local, actually, this is from Good Morning America, GMA.
Mississippi, and a frightening scene in the air there, where police say a man stole an airplane and threatened to crash it into a Walmart. This morning, that suspect is in custody. ABC's Faith Abube is here with more terrifying story, Faith.
It really is. Good morning to you, Janae. Authorities say they don't believe the suspect is a licensed pilot. He worked at the Tupelo Regional Airport fueling aircraft, and that is how he allegedly got access to the plane at a time when that airport was closed. This morning, the man who allegedly set off an emergency scramble in Mississippi with a stolen plane is behind bars. 29-year-old Corey Patterson facing criminal charges after police say he snatched this twin-engine plane and then threatened to intentionally crash it into a Walmart. Investigators say Patterson called 911 shortly after sneaking onto the plane around 5 a.m. Saturday.
He made an approach coming out of the north. He was probably 100 feet off the runway before he pulled up.
Police evacuating the Walmart, declaring the area surrounding Tupelo a danger zone, telling community members to avoid the area while negotiators tried to convince the 29-year-old to safely land the plane. But online, flight tracking site Flight Radar 24 showing the plane crisscrossing the skies over Mississippi for hours.
This is a 5-ton airplane, fully loaded, 600 pounds of gas, which is the equivalent of a napalm bomb. It would have done terrible damage if he had followed through on his threat.
The suspect even apparently leaving a goodbye message on his Facebook page saying, quote, "Sorry, everyone, never actually wanted to hurt anyone."
We know he was getting close to running out of fuel. The pilot did not have experience to land an aircraft.
Police negotiators attempted to convince Patterson to land the plane with the help from a private pilot.
Upon final approach, the pilot aborted the landing.
Minutes later, the pilot confirmed he had landed safely in a field and was uninjured. And Patterson has been charged with grand larceny and making terroristic threats. But investigators say after the initial threat, Patterson did not want to hurt himself or anyone else. Meantime, Walmart tells ABC News it is grateful the situation ended without incident and everyone involved is safe. Eva.
Really a miracle that no one was hurt in that situation. Thanks, Faith.
And Walmart is thankful that he instead crashed at a Target.
He hit the target. Why Walmart? Do we know why he picked on Walmart?
No, I don't know. We're not
Is
sure.
it their prices or something? I don't know.
They're just not low enough.
Yeah.
Or perhaps he was upset with their outsourcing of, like most of their items come from China, and he was concerned about the global, exchange of goods and services. Yeah, globalization.
Could well be.
I don't know. Maybe he knew somebody that worked there, and he was kind of upset with them. Yes. So anyway, I thought one of the interesting little tidbits of information that I did not know about until I watched this particular clip from Good Morning America, ABC News, was that he had just shortly before he put it down in that field, and a lot of the reports said cornfield, but I think it's a soybean field actually. He actually was in contact with a instructor pilot, and he was trying to land at an airport, a small airport nearby called Riley Field or Riley something or other. And then he got down to about 100 feet and just kind of said, nope, this is not going to work, and went around, and then he just put it down in that field. So you can always go around. That is so true, Liz. You can always go around. And that's actually what he did. And
even if you've stolen it, you can still go around.
Yeah. Too many self-checkouts and no more cashiers. That might have been why he was so upset with Walmart. You're right, Gina. But we're not sure, actually. I happened to have been, I think this was a Saturday morning when all this happened. And I was actually up really early that morning, and I was doing some work on the computer, and I noticed like some kind of a tweet about this guy threatening to crash into a Walmart. And I thought, huh. And so I actually, when they got to the point where they identified this person and the fact that he was making some posts on Facebook, I thought, oh, let me check that out. And so I went there, and I was watching in real time, live, people communicating with him, making posts on Facebook. And I saw that one little Facebook post that they put on that news article where he said, I didn't want to hurt anybody. And so it certainly looked at that point like it was going to be one of those things where he's going to end it all by crashing into a public place and killing a bunch of people. Anyway, I just thought it was kind of interesting to be kind of there while this was all happening. And at that point, he was still flying around. So I thought it was kind of interesting. So, what do you think?
Yeah, another stolen airplane. It's amazing how many times this happened in history. So,
yeah, especially here in the cowboy country.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Well, there are a lot of cowboys out there. So yeah, well, the lovely thing is that he survived, which is great, and he didn't hurt anyone while he was doing it. I have to say, if I was going to do something like that, I'd make sure that my knitting looked a bit more tidier, because I must admit, when you look at his track on Flight Radar or whatever app that was, it's a bit of a mess, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll try and make it look a bit neater myself, but there you go.
Yeah, it was kind of erratic and going all over the place, and he flew for somewhere between 4 and 5 hours, I believe.
Wow, really that long? Golly.
Yeah, Liz is saying it's a pretty high-powered plane, the King Air C90. It's a twin turboprop airplane, and I thought, he did a pretty darn good job of flying for supposedly not being a trained pilot. So I think that...
Well, he may not have had a qualification, but he obviously had, some knowledge of flying, because he was doing low-level steep turns, looked very impressive, very under control, so, yeah.
Although I don't think so, Liz. I do have to say that the guy that stole the what was it, the
Q400 up in
the Q400,
Seattle.
Yeah, out in Seattle, Tacoma. He put on a much better show. Of course, the outcome was not as good. I mean, he basically destroyed the airplane and himself. But in this case, Liz was asking. It looked like that the damage was not too severe to this King Air, and that they'll be able to use the airplane again. Now, at some point in the video, I'm going to see if I can try to find exactly where it is. It shows the little path of, here it is. So you can see how he came down. You see all three ruts for each of the main and the left and right main and the nose. Then it looks like it hit like a ditch area, like a definite depression in the field. And then I think at some point it looks like it kind of started sliding sideways because it came to a stop kind of 90 degrees to the left of.
I reckon he knocked his gear off on that ditch. Because I can see a wheel.
Yeah, you can see the gear there.
Side, and then he just slid along on his belly.
Actually, it looks like maybe both of them are on the left side there.
Yeah. Anyway, so it worked. It wasn't ideal, but it worked out. He didn't kill himself. He didn't destroy the airplane. He didn't kill any or hurt anybody else. So now he's just got to work out, a few details about how he's going to pay everybody back and pay his debt to society. Yeah.
Yeah. Who owned it? Do we know?
A doctor in the Tupelo area.
Oh, those doctors, they get paid too much. Nice airplane.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised that guys like this can get the airplane started. This guy I think was a student pilot, but surely only had experience in small piston airplanes. I guess if I got in that airplane, I could maybe figure out how to get it started, but
I don't think I could.
yeah, I'm not like, I think it'd be a 50-50, even with all the time in the world and a checklist. I think it's a 50-50 shot whether I hot started an engine or got it running. And so it always, with the Q400 and with this one, it surprises me that these inexperienced people are able to just hop in the airplane and get it running, let alone fly it around. Flying it around is not a huge deal. It flies like any other airplane. It's just starting it. It always surprises me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People ask me, well, can you fly that Boeing 717 by yourself? And I thought, no, I don't know how to start it. First option is that. I'm just kidding, of course, as far as you know. Okay, moving on. Liz is always trying to keep me out of trouble. Hey, look, I only have a little over a year, possibly, to go before I retire. So I'm kind of on thin ice right now, so I got to be careful. All right, let's continue with the second item in our news segment. Float plane crashes in Puget Sound. 1 dead and 9 missing. I don't know what the latest is on this, but I think pretty much they've decided that, yeah, the thing kind of was flying along and just kind of took a nosedive. Just a sudden, there was no radio call of distress, and the airplane pretty much went straight down in the Puget Sound and hit the water. And I think they're only finding small pieces of the aircraft left. So I'm sure that everybody's assuming that everybody perished. Again, 1 pilot and 9 passengers. It was in the San Juan Islands, popular tourist destination near Renton, Washington. Previously, the Coast Guard had said the plane was flying to Seattle-Tacoma International. I guess it was going to Renton, not Seattle-Tacoma Airport. Mutiny Bay is where it happened, off of Whidbey Island, about 40 miles to the northwest of Seattle. Let's see. So, do I have any other information here? I pulled up some information from the Aviation Safety Network about the actual airplane itself. I believe, Liz, you already threw that up there. It's a beautiful airplane, a Twin Otter. It's too bad that
a Twin Otter or a turbine otter?
Yeah, single otter.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It's not twin. It's a turbine.
So is that a sotter if it's a single otter?
Oh, could be a sotter. Yeah. I don't know if they call it that or not. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me see. It's a float-equipped de Havilland Canada DHC-3T turbine otter, November 725, Tango Hotel, the registration. And, of course, it's over for that airplane.
And sadly, the 10 occupants. It's full load, I suspect.
Yeah, I think that I was watching one of the aviation YouTube channels, and they were talking about the fact that they've had some incidents in the past with this particular model of airplane with elevator and elevator servos and trim tabs and that kind of thing failing or giving up, and it seems. Oh yeah, you're right, Liz. It is made in Canada. That might be a clue as to why it. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, who knows at this point? They're going to be, trying to find big enough pieces of the wreckage to determine what exactly happened and why it just suddenly. Tim Van Rand said it. Glad it wasn't a nice beaver. Yeah, no kidding. It'd be a shame to. Yeah, it's an otter instead. Yeah. Anyway. So, I don't know, Nick Camacho, do you have any experience with the de Havilland brand of airplanes?
No, just let's see. When I was growing up, the museum that we were part of had a Beaver, an original Beaver, but that was much different than this. It was smaller, and it had the 985, the radial engine on it. So I do not have a ton of experience with floats or the turbine-powered de Havilland airplanes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we don't want to get too disrespectful. But so the airplane that you were talking about, Nick Camacho, was it a
Nice beaver.
Just wondering.
It was. It was a very nice one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're treading on even thinner ice at this point. So let's move on. Thank you. Yeah, please don't. Item C in the news segment. There's an accident here. A TAP A320-200, registration Charlie Sierra Tango Victor India, performing flight 1492 from Lisbon, Portugal to, I don't know, Conakry, Guinea. Landed on Conakry's runway 24 at 28:30 local, or 28:30. They have different time there. 23:30, which is 23:30Z. However, the right-hand engine, which was a LEAP engine, one of the new, I think that's a geared turbine, collided with a motorbike occupied by two persons that crossed the runway at that moment. The aircraft rolled out without further incident. Both occupants of the motorbike died, however. The Civil Aviation Authority of Guinea opened an investigation into the accident. The airport reported the aircraft hit two individuals riding on a motorbike on the runway. The driver was identified as a security agent responsible to protect airport facilities. The airline expressed their condolences to the families involved. All passengers and crew aboard the aircraft remain uninjured. The aircraft is still on the ground in Conakry about 16 hours after landing. The return flight 1493 was canceled. The right-hand engine and the motorbike, I think Liz was putting up some of those photos. It's kind of graphic. The motorbike,
Wow.
and two people on it, and they're not sure exactly why. The motorcycle and two human beings on top of it happened to be on that part of the runway at that moment when an Airbus 320 was landing. Not very smart.
No, absolutely not. But, I've had my own experience of people coming onto the runway during a takeoff, in my case, not a landing. But, you do wonder why on earth someone would try and venture close to a runway. I mean, it's not as if you can't see an aircraft coming in with all its lights on, etc. And you should be able to hear it even over the sound of a motorcycle. So I don't know whether they're playing chicken or they were just unaware of its arrival. No idea.
Wonder if they were just doing like a thrill-seeking kind of a thing, and they just assumed that this airplane would come in at a certain height compared to maybe some of the heights that they had seen other aircraft, and it was just a miscalculation, and maybe this particular flight path was a little bit lower than your normal flight path.
Could be that, Jeff. Lots of scenarios, I guess, but fact is they misjudged their attempt to have fun, if that's what it was, appallingly. Going to take quite a bit of fixing. It's going to need a new engine, obviously, but also a new entire pod and probably the pylon as well, I'd guess. But so it's going to be on the ground there for a while Airbus sort that out.
Yep, for sure. Well, it's sad. Anytime
very.
Life is lost.
What on earth they were thinking, I have no idea.
And I'm sure that the pilots just feel horrible about it, even though I don't think that they had anything to do with it. But
no.
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting news item. D. Two Air France pilots are suspended after a cockpit fist fight. This is from BBC News. A brawl broke out in the cockpit between two pilots. Two Air France pilots have been suspended after a physical altercation in the cockpit, reports say. What'd you say, Liz? Sacre bleu? Bleh. The pilot and co-pilot exchanged blows, with their fists, as they flew an Airbus A320 from Geneva to Paris in June. Swiss news outlet La Tribune said. Members of the cabin crew intervened after hearing the noise. One crew member stayed in the cockpit until the flight landed safely. The incident did not affect the flight, the airline told La Tribune. The incident comes after a report published by France's air investigation body on Tuesday said that the airline had a culture which lacked rigor when it came to safety procedures. And this item here in the usatoday.com, and they talk again about this incident and that French investigators are calling for tougher safety protocols. Doesn't really say exactly what was the issue, why they were fighting. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about another, what airline was it? Was it Frontier or Spirit or Southwest or Alaska? Was it Alaska? Yeah, I don't Yeah, we had the video of the guy walking off the aircraft after they, I guess, were taxiing out, and then they returned to the gate. And
Yeah, Alaskan. There was also an Air India situation, wasn't there, where they had a dreadful argument. It might have been between husband and wife, who were both the two pilots.
Yeah.
And they took their fight out into the galley, leaving nobody left on the flight deck.
It's on automatic
to look
pilot.
after the aeroplane.
Nothing could go wrong.
Oh, my God. I think in this case they were reenacting John Wayne's scene from The High and the Mighty, where he slapped the captain for being a coward, called him Yeller.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
That. So I think that was probably what was going on.
It could be. Now, Liz is saying that she heard that there was a preliminary report regarding the Alaska altercation, and the argument was about one of I think the captain was saying that Opposing Bases is a better aviation podcast. And the co-pilot said, no, it's Airline Pilot
number
Guy.
one in the world or something.
Yeah. No, I don't think it had anything to do with aviation podcasts, actually. Probably not. This is no good. You have to get along. And I can't, in all my experience of flying so far, and it's been a long time, because look at me, I'm old. And I'm sure Nick can say the same thing. Have you ever gotten to the point at which violence happened inside of your flight deck cockpit? I mean, come on.
Now, I've heard of people in the military landing and being so upset with the pilot of another aircraft that they've got into fisticuffs on the ground.
Sure.
But I've never heard of it happening in the air. So, no. I mean, it goes without saying that, you just look after the aircraft and your passengers, because that is your duty. You bottle it until you get on the ground. And if you feel that strongly about it, once you've shut everything down, you shut the cockpit door and have a go at each other. But, don't do it in the air, for heaven's sake.
It's called airmanship and, professionalism. It's self-control.
Sadly, it brings Air France, which I always had, a lot of respect for. It brings their level of professionalism back down, in my opinion, again, because they've had a reasonable number of quite poor reports of the culture within the company. And it does worry me when, this sort of thing happens.
Yes, I agree. Okay. This next one is, as Liz says, wild. Item E, an incident, an Uni Air Avion de Transport Régional, ATR 72212 Alpha, registration Bravo 17010, performing flight 9091 from Taipei, Songshan, to Nangan, Taiwan, with 70 passengers and 4 crew, departed Songshan's runway 10, climbed to flight level 100, was on short final to Nangan's runway 21 about 40 minutes after departure when both right main tires were damaged. The crew climbed the aircraft back to flight level 070, approximately 7,000 feet, returned to Taipei Songshan, performed a low approach to Songshan's runway 10 about 80 minutes after departure, and landed safely back on runway 10 about 100 minutes after departure. Taiwan's TTSB reported on May 10th, 2021 at 9:27 in the morning, Taipei time. This flight an ATR 72-600. Let's see. The right landing gear of the aircraft was broken during landing at RCFG. The aircraft did a go around and returned back to the RCSS airport. The aircraft landed at RCSS airport at 11:10 hours. The right landing gear of the aircraft was damaged, and I can see why. There's a wall that we have a picture of that shows the right main landing gear tire marks, and in fact, two sizable chunks missing from this very solid looking wall. I'm thinking that was another very, very close call. I mean, if it had been just slightly lower, we would have been talking about a crash, I believe, or at least a missing right main landing gear. I don't know. Yeah, crazy. Let's see. The main wheels and tail skid hit the top of the outer edge. Yeah, I can see a little mark a little bit to the left of the image that we're displaying right now in the video. That must be the tail skid where it hit. Yeah, the weather conditions at the time weren't adverse as far as I can see. It was
in italics at the bottom that indicates there was low cloud or sea fog before the runway threshold.
Oh, okay. Well, that could be a problem. Oh, it looks like we have some photos that I should have included in our slides here that I'm now seeing. I don't know why I didn't put them in there, sorry. But hey, if you look at the show notes, folks, you'll see the pictures of an airplane, this airplane coming in with the right main pretty much all mangled up. The wheels are gone. And not a lot remaining on that, and the landing at the Taiwan airport.
Well, after the
is that me or is that Nick?
No, it's Nick.
Okay, Nick, you're Skyping. Must be the rain.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's
is
right.
it any better now, or shall I shut up?
Now you've caught up with us.
Okay, good.
Go and make your comment.
The report here said in the final stages, the pilot used the auto left and right navigation and vertical modes to approach. Now, you and I would both go, what's in the final stages of the approach? What's he got the autopilot in for? But perhaps he was still in cloud. But he did not really lost a focus on messing about with the autopilot. They call it operations in the, I call it knobs. He lost the realized that the altitude was very close to the runway threshold. When the aircraft entered low clouds and the pilot was unable to maintain visual contact with the runway, he did not immediately perform a go-around, unlike the bloke who'd stole the King Air, who made a better fist of it, if you ask me.
And he wasn't even a rated pilot.
Exactly. And continue to use the autopilot to continue to approach the field. I'm going, what was he doing? Anyway, the monitoring pilot did not remind or call for a go-round. So who was supposed to be shouting minimums, whether it was the aircraft or the pilot monitoring, I don't know, but that obviously wasn't done. And this is bit confuses me next. The aircraft was at an altitude of 229 feet, but only 11 feet above the threshold of the runway. They called that a sea wall. So I'm assuming the airfield was pretty close to sea level, but apparently not. Apparently it was over 200 feet, but they're only 11 feet above the threshold. When he decided to go around because the height was too low, but he left it too late and the main wheels and tail skid hit the wall. So I'm just not impressed with their techniques, and also there's a significant lack of awareness, their situational awareness from both pilots, but the sounds of it all a bit worrying, quite honestly.
Yes.
The published elevation for that airport is 232 feet.
Okay. Well, I don't know quite why they call it a seawall then, because the sea must have been a couple 100 feet below him. Well, there you go.
No, he didn't see the wall. Possible show title: No Seawall. Did you see the wall?
Oh,
no seawall.
That's very good, and that's like almost in Chinese too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I wonder if that. I mean, surely that didn't have an effect on the pilots, but I just can't imagine being 11 feet off the ground. I would wonder if they were kind of thinking along the lines you guys were thinking. We're 200 feet over the ground, over the water, rather than only having 11 feet until an impact point. 11 feet without even being over the runway. It's just insane to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, a lot of troubling data on in this narrative here. What happened?
I'd love to do a show title with the Wall of China with a couple of bricks missing.
Okay, well there you go.
No seawall.
No seawall. No seawall. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I think we're probably already banned in China, Liz. Especially after stories like this next one.
Go on, then.
Yeah. This was sent in from a couple of our listeners. Glenn in Kalangadoo, South Australia. How'd I do there? Kalangadoo? And Kalangadoo.
That's the one.
Put some shrimp on the Barbie. And Rob,
that was awful.
Wait a minute. Let's see if I can find my shrimp on. I can't. It's going to take too long for me.
But
to do
another shrimp on the Barbie.
Yeah, the one from Dumb and Dumber. Jim Carrey does a really bad impression. Anyway, and Robert in Tucker, Georgia, and this is the story from NBCnews.com. A Southwest airline pilot asks passengers to stop airdropping nudes to his iPad. There's a video of a Southwest Airlines pilot saying he will pull back the airplane and return to the gate if passengers do not stop sending nude photos over AirDrop. That's a video has gone viral on TikTok. The incident occurred before takeoff to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, according to the TikTok video that captured the bizarre moment. And guess what? I have that TikTok video. You want to watch it? Let's listen to the frustrated captain.
Not the nudes video.
That's
pilot video.
That's a totally different show, Nick.
So here's the deal. This continues while we're on the ground. I'm going to have to pull back to the gate. Everybody's going to have to get off. We're going to have to get security involved. And it's vacation that's going to be ruined. So you folks, whatever that airdrop thing is, quit sending naked pictures. Let's get yourself to Cabo.
Whatever that airdrop thing is, stop doing it.
Nice to hear a pilot has got a real grip on technology.
Well, so, Nick, one of the reasons why we exist is to help out pilots such as this guy that apparently doesn't understand airdrop. So, Liz, go ahead and put up the first. There we go. In the settings on your iPad EFB, you can hit the general, and then over there to the right, you see airdrop. I've circled it for you, sir. And then the next slide. Once you do that, then it says receiving off. Make sure that's checked. And that way, nobody can send you nude pictures via airdrop to your iPad.
Excellent.
You're welcome. You are welcome. That's a PSA from the APG.
Now, why would he not want to receive? I suppose there might be pictures of that he doesn't approve of, I suppose.
Well, maybe these, I'm assuming ladies, but it could have been men, were not very attractive, or at least not attractive to him. And
you see, if I knew that got under his nose and I was a grumpy first officer, I'd spend the entire flight airdropping dubious pictures to his EFB. That would be hilarious. Watch you get wound up. Now that would...
Yeah.
Until you ended up in a fist fight.
Oh, man.
That really would be good.
Maybe that's why those guys had the fisticuffs. Maybe there was some airdropping going. I don't know. Go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say, could you imagine being someone who hasn't like just waking up from a 15-year-old nap, and there's this article that talks about Airdrop, TikTok, has Twitter handles in it, and sending nudes. And you would just be like, what is going on?
What does that all mean? That makes no sense. Well, Tim Van Rem says airdrop used to mean dropping relief supplies from a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, Southwest take airdropping nudes very seriously.
Or at least the Southwest pilot does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was an interesting one.
Yeah.
Oh, I boxes. Pilot was tired of seeing stick. Okay. Well, all right. Let's move on, shall we? It's now time to try to save ourselves and do this. Time to get to know us. About us. Getting to like us. Getting to hope you like us too. Glad Steph's not here yet. She can't make fun of my altered lyrics. But, you know, I haven't heard her sing this thing yet, so I'm just saying. Anyway, getting to know a segment, that's where we kind of get caught up. Oh, yeah, Liz is saying the reason why is because she's putting up the graphic. Excuse me, ma'am. Please don't sing. Yes. Anywho, this are getting to find out what has been happening between shows. Usually, mostly good stuff, but not always. And I think that maybe this would be a good time to perhaps talk about. Is that what we were going to do, Liz? Never mind. I'm going to cut all that out. So that you're right, now that I'm thinking about it. Okay, so it's that time of the show where we get all caught up with what we've been doing between shows, and why don't I volunteer to start? And,
good man.
Yes, I had a meetup with one of our APG community contributors and listeners, and many of us met Tim Qualls. He sends in feedback every now and then, but we met him in person in IRL, I think they call it, in real life, back in 2019 at Oshkosh at the seaplane facility or base or whatever they call it on Lake Winnebago. And anywho, he contacted me a few weeks ago and said that he lives in Arkansas near the Hot Springs area. Arkansas, just so that Nick
now I know
Nick
where
knows
you
what
are.
I'm talking.
Yep,
Yeah,
thanks.
And he was heading to South Carolina. South to watch a NASCAR race in Darlington, South Carolina. And he said, I'm going to be going right through Atlanta, and was wondering if you might be available for a quick meetup while I'm making my way through town. And I said, well, if I'm not flying, yeah, absolutely. And it turns out that it was the Friday of the start of the Labor Day weekend here in the United States. And he met up with Dana for brunch near where Dana lives, and then he took in the Holocaust Museum and a couple of other things over there in that part of town. And then he headed this way, and I said, what are you in the mood for? And I said, the couple of places that I thought of was either seafood or barbecue. And he said, barbecue, love barbecue. I went, okay, let's do this. Let's go to the Spiced Right Rib Shack in Roswell. And so that's where we met. And of course, I forgot to take a photo of the two of us. Sorry, Liz. But I did remember to do this. Hey there. Another APG meetup. And I'll tell you who we is. Well, of course, one of those we is me, Jeff. By now you probably recognize my voice. In Roswell, longtime listener to the show, Tim Qualls. I met Tim back in 2019 at Oshkosh, and I do remember most specifically at Oshkosh, we were at the seaplane base, And we had a nice discussion there. Great to meet him back then. And since then, we've been keeping in touch. Obviously, this little show thing had something to do with that. And anyway, he lives in the Arkansas area around Hot Springs area. And he contacted me, I don't know, a few weeks ago and said that he was going to be going to the NASCAR race, Darlington. You know, I always forget that I talk about this in my audio that I've recorded. So when I'm setting this whole thing up, I'm thinking, you idiot, you've already talked about this. Oh, well, let's continue. South Carolina, and he was coming through Atlanta and was wondering if I might be available to join up with him for lunch or dinner or something like that. And so he contacted me earlier today and said, hey, I'm here. Are you available? And I said, yeah, let's get together somewhere. So we ended up coming to this place called Spiced Right Rib House in Roswell. Really, really good barbecue. And so I pointed him here, told him to punch it in his GPS thing and make his way over here. And so we met up and just finished a wonderful meal. He did the ribs and I did the brisket, and it was just wonderful. Anyway, so we're going to just let Tim, he doesn't want to do this, but I'm forcing him to do this. He's going to say a quick hello to everybody, and then we'll finish it. And he'll be on his way to Darlington, South Carolina. So say hello, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
All right, that's it. Okay, back to you in the... No, wait. That's not going to be it, Tim. You got to say a little bit more.
I'm just passing through and wanted to have a chance to meet up with Jeff and met with Dana this morning. And it's been a great time. A lot of fun. He's still in my French fries, though. Hold on.
I'm assuming that you're not going to have any more of these. So
Yeah, no, I'm done.
while he's busy talking to you all, I'm stealing some of his French fries. Okay, so here's back to Tim.
Well, I've not got much else to say. I'm more of a consumer than a contributor to the show, but I do enjoy it, and it's always good to hear it every week and to hear everybody else's feedback each week. I enjoy that.
All right, say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye.
All right, there you go. Man, a few words. When we're eating here, he has a lot more words. But as soon as I started the recorder, he just shut up. Anyway, so that's going to be it then. Back to you in the studio. Microphone shy.
So is that a Calakian accent?
That's an Arkansan accent.
Ah, right. Oh, Arkansas. Okay,
Mhm.
right. That's what an Arkansian then. Yes.
I don't know if I mentioned this, but he's from Arkansas.
Oh, that place
And then
too.
he was driving through Atlanta on the way to a NASCAR race in Darlington.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if that was the accent, because that's quite a distinct accent. That is.
It is. But I'm kind of poking fun at myself because I keep doing this every darn time I've recorded video. I basically say everything that I say in the recording before I play the recording. And then I realize when I'm playing the recording, you dummy. Anyway, you'd think by now that I would have learned.
Yeah, how many years?
Yeah, I can cut that out in post. But you know what, Liz? I'm not going to cut it out. I'm just going to leave all this dirty laundry in the.
So he says. He says that now to make himself.
No,
feel
I
good.
will. I guarantee
and then
it.
We'll all forget, and then
I
I'll cut
will
it out,
not.
and then-
No. Shh. Who's this Nick Camacho guy? Where did he come from? Thank you, Liz. Okay, Captain Nick. Are you?
Yes,
oh
sir.
wait, no. Actually, before I go to you, we're going to go to Radio Roger. Okay, Radio Roger. Oh, he's not here, but he did send us some email when he sent in his intro voiceover stuff. Yeah, you may have noticed that last week there was no Radio Roger, and I missed him very much because I had to do the show open and the announcement that Radio Roger normally does. And, of course, I didn't do it as well as Radio Roger does, but I tried. I've learned a lot from him. Anyway, he was in Israel, and that's why he couldn't do the voiceover. And he said when he was sending in this show's intro, he said, I don't know how you feel about mentioning me this week and getting to know you because I'm not a host. Well, you know what? I feel pretty strongly I don't want to even talk about it. So let's move on No, I'm just kidding. However, if you're okay with it, please tell the community I was away for a family wedding at the most beautiful wedding spot I've ever seen, a hill overlooking the old city of Jerusalem. Gail and I have never been to Israel, so we took extra time sightseeing, including the West Bank desert with the Dead Sea, the vibrant city of Tel Aviv, and ancient ruins along the Mediterranean coast. It's definitely a trip worth making. Wow, that sounds awesome. So thank you, Roger, for letting us know why. I mean, I don't know. Sounds kind of like a pretty lame excuse to me for not doing the intro for our show last week. But okay, we'll let it slide this time. Okay. Let's now move on to our favorite co-host, Captain Nick.
Okay,
just kidding.
Yeah, I
Liz
think
goes,
so too.
really? Well, Stat's not here, and Rick's not here. Nick Camacho is, but he's the new guy. He's the rookie, and so he's probably just going to sit there and just say nothing.
Well, this is what I'm going to do. But what I am going to say is the last week saw a couple of birthdays, so I think it's quite fair we should mention David Abbey's 52nd birthday. So
yeah,
happy birthday, David.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, he used to be a regular meetup for us when I did a New York trip, because he could get out to our hotel in Long Island fairly easily, and we also used to meet up in Manhattan. So it was always good fun to have a few beers with David. So I hope you had a good birthday. And I think it wasn't it Colonel Jeff's birthday as well?
Yes, I think on the 5th.
Yeah, so happy birthday, Colonel Jeff.
Yeah,
Excellent.
happy birthday. Oh, wait a minute. There is another birthday sometime
really?
in early September that I can't remember whose it is. Never mind. Keep going.
Okay, that's it. That's all I've got to say.
No, wait a minute. No, it's yours. You know it.
What?
September
No.
9th, 2 days
but
from now.
that's next week. That'll be
Well,
next
September
week's
9th,
one.
by the time you're listening to this, it's already passed. Yeah, but we're going to hear
Fair
about all
enough,
the festivities
fair enough.
next week. So do you have anything, big plans for the birthday, sir?
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
That's it. That's
All right.
it.
Okay.
Because it's only, I'm 68. That's no big deal.
68. That's so young.
Exactly. So not a lot has happened. So you can move on.
All right. We'll do that then. Let's go to Nick Camacho, man.
Yeah, not a ton on my end. Working all week. Did get a chance to go out and spend some contemplative time at the airport on Saturday, sitting in my airplane, poking through every single menu on every single piece of avionics I put in my airplane, trying to figure out why. Basically, the last thing that I had, the last kind of outstanding squawk I had after all of my avionics installs was that my transponder was not being provided with GPS signals for the ADSB. So it wouldn't put out ADSB signals, basically. And I had talked to the folks who helped me set up all the avionics and wiring and everything, and we had gone through it a couple times on the phone. Couldn't figure it out, and so I was sitting there for a couple hours on Saturday and eventually found one tiny little area where I had, since the transponder had been previously installed, it had been using its internal GPS chip to generate the GPS signal that it used. And when we rewired it, we were now pulling a GPS signal from one of the new boxes we put in. There's a little setting to change that, which we had missed.
Oh, here it is. Right there on the screen. No?
Yeah. Oh, very good.
So got that changed, and that solved everything. So then felt pretty good about that. Went out on Sunday, flew the Luscombe a little bit on Sunday on what I thought was a nice morning. It ended up being horribly bumpy from about ground level to about 100 feet, which made my landings a little more interesting than I would have liked. And then on Monday, which was a holiday over here in the United States, took the Debonair out and flew it with my instructor, and we fiddled with all the buttons and all the new boxes, and everything worked. Flew it away from the airport for the first time, and was able to track myself on FlightAware, and
wow,
everybody could hear me. So it was great. I think it was
Nice.
a breakthrough.
Yeah, let's give you a round of applause for that.
Good job.
Yeah, good job. And as well. Nailed it. All right. Well, and I know that there have been events that have happened in recent times, and we're going to talk about that very shortly. Like right now, Liz? Oh, we're going to do cover. I'm sorry. God, thank goodness Liz is there telling me what to do. We're going to...
I could tell you what to do as well.
Well, I know you could, but can't tell you how many times I've heard that. And it never does any good. So let's do the cover art from the last episode. Wow. I don't know how much detail we want to get into here. But anyway, the very clever artwork, Captain Nick. We were talking about the incident at the, what was the name of the place? Halibut Cove in Alaska.
Yes. Yeah.
Where the Beaver, the airplane on floats, was in the Halibut Cove, and apparently one of the proprietors of a restaurant there took umbrage to the airplane being in her cove.
The Beaver,
so to speak.
that was,
yeah.
yes.
Well, yeah, so many meanings here. So anyway, we thought that this might be a kind of a cute title, Chasing Beaver. And so the artwork is yes, I am the captain with an eye patch, looking pretty darn sharp, I have to say, in my double-breasted.
I think so. I like your new tie.
Yeah, I couldn't. So I didn't zoom in closely enough to. What is my tie? What's on my tie?
Oh well, it's a bunch of pirates.
Oh, okay, pirate skulls
wearing
and
pirate
stuff.
hats.
Ah, okay. Oh, very nice.
And you might notice that your ID photo also has a pirate hat on.
I need to look at this a little bit more closely. I don't think I ever zoomed in.
And if anyone's looking for the show number, which
Yes.
is often hidden away,
Mhm.
you just have to look at Jeff's chest. You might need to blow the picture up a bit, though. But there you go.
You're saying have a small chest?
Yes, you do.
Yes, well, I love this. Over to the right side of the graphic is, and you have to listen to the show to understand why this is funny. Is that a submarine in the water? In
Yeah,
the
well,
cove?
I thought it inappropriate since we had a water scene here to put an aeroplane there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got a submarine that's sinking. Submarines do sink, I know, but.
Yeah, that's
so
the
this
normal
one
thing.
is a German
Yeah.
submarine.
But they're in German. 9 emergency.
I think submarines dive, right?
They
they're-
dive. They don't
when
sink.
they're not in peril, they dive.
Well, some of them do
They
actually
only
sink.
when they're in peril.
Good point. Good point.
But
yeah.
of course, the 9 emergency has nothing to do with submarines. It has to do with a very large aircraft that lost an engine. And listen to the last show. You'll understand.
Yeah.
iHall Boxer says Beaver rubbing its eyes because of the size of Jeff's cannon.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's not the first time that's happened. Anyway, so yeah, braggart. Yeah, I'm in a dream world, I think. Anywho, so very. This is very. Now that I'm actually seeing all the little details in this whole thing, I'm appreciating it even more.
And we're not even going to talk about. We can talk about your hat, which has got an anchor on it.
Yeah, I see that.
Are we going to talk about the Merkin?
Yeah, I'm an American, and go
quite
ahead.
what I said.
I know that's not what you said. There is a picture of a beaver with a very, very bushy beaver tail.
There you go. Yeah. So we managed to cram a bit in there.
Yeah, well, that's what she said.
Good fun. Definitely. Yes. By the way, you've got a very nice shiny gun there.
Oh, thank you for noticing.
Yeah, you must have spent a lot of time polishing that.
Well, yeah, I do. Sadly, I do. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, I think we've pushed the limits on
Done
that one.
to
It
death.
was,
Yeah.
It was really, really good artwork. Thank you, Nick.
Oh, you're very
That was
welcome.
Awesome. Tim Van Ram is wondering if there were brass balls as well. Well, of course, to go in the cannon.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Oh boy. Ooh, it's getting hot in here. What time is it? It's coffee fun time. Okay. That means it's time for me to push
Have
this
I got
button.
time to mix a gin and tonic?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we'll
Thank you.
vamp if you're not back in time.
Cheers.
Johnny, how about some more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Oh, yeah. That is Jeff Smith, spelled with a G, Geoff Smith, who is a Joff, yes, who is a wonderful musician and creative artist who came up with this Java Jive for the Coffee Fund, APG, and he's also the guy that came up with our theme song at the beginning of the show. Anywho, Coffee Fund. It's your way to support the show financially. A couple different ways to do that. One is the OG, the original Coffee Fund classic method. And we had Michael Slough, I'm not sure, Slough maybe, S-L-O-U-G-H, Slough, sent us a nice one-time donation via the Coffee Fund Classic. Thank you, Michael. And we also have recurring contributors using that method as well. And the other way to support the show via the Coffee Fund is to become a patron of the show at patreon.com/airlinepilotguy. And no new patrons this week, but don't you worry. We have a bunch of great patrons already. And consider signing up to become a patron of the show via Patreon, because I've been doing not daily, almost daily digests between shows, just to kind of catch up with what I've been doing behind the scenes and between shows and that sort of thing. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, consider joining the Coffee Fund cadre or the Coffee Bar Club. And information about how you can do that is available via airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. Join us. You'll be glad you did. And we will too. All right. So we'll wait for Captain Nick to return. He's stirring up and concocting a London dry gin from London cocktail, I would imagine. By the way, Liz, hang on. Hang on. See if I can do this without knocking anything over. Liz gave me this wonderful gift. It's a gin. It's called the Valley of Mother of God. And it is it's a Canadian dry gin made in Ontario. This begins life at Foxglove Farm, where our soft winter wheat. And then there's something, and then they put this little gold label, gold metal sticker over the top of it, so I can't actually read all the wonderful words describing this wonderful gin. But yeah, it's very good. Thank you. Cheers. All right. Hey, there's Captain Nick with it. What? No, hold that thing up. You need to unmute yourself. Oh, okay. So at first, I must have been looking at your thumb on the other side, but it looked like it was dark liquor or something in there. I'm thinking,
No.
What kind of gin is that?
Very weird.
It's
gin
just
tonic.
one of the Goldens.
Okay.
It's a Goldens gin, that one.
You mean like this?
Well, sort of, except it's one one of their rhubarb and berry flavoured ones.
Ah, ooh, that sounds
Which is
interesting.
the flavour of the month.
Ah, very good.
Very tasty.
The control room is telling me now that we have another news item, and this is one that is sad news. And let me see. Let me find it. Number 3. Thank you. Okay. So let's start, or not start, but let's, before we move on to feedback, let's talk about this. A veteran pilot was killed in a vintage airplane crash in Kern County. Now, this is especially poignant for all of us here at the APG, especially the APG crew, especially Nick Camacho. A well-known member of the vintage aircraft community and board member of the Estrella Warbirds Museum was killed in a plane crash Friday in Shafter, California. Representatives of the museum confirmed that the pilot was Sherman Smoot. According to the Kern County Fire Department, he was flying a World War II plane that had been converted for air racing competition. It happened at Minter Field Airport. And in fact, if you listen to our show, I think it was either the last episode or the one before, where Nick Camacho was telling us all about this airplane that Sherman was going to be flying in the Reno air races coming up here pretty soon. He was flying this highly modified Yakovlev Yak 11 used by the Soviet Air Force from 1947 until 1962. And this very highly modified version of the plane was called Checkmate, like Czech, C-Z-E-C-H, a play on words. It was reportedly being rebuilt in preparation for the upcoming Reno air races. Smoot was the only person on board. Sherman has been an avid air racer in the unlimited class for years, racing various aircraft, but mostly known for racing Checkmate. Unlimited air racing in Reno is known as the bad boys of air racing, as they are typically racing modified World War II aircraft. This year, Sherman and Checkmate were a favorite to win the current listed field. Sherman is among the legends when it comes to air racing. Gold. Everyone was excited for this to be the year. And from what I can tell from other sources, it looked like he was definitely the one that was, favored to win this year, the gold. For the last 4 years, Sherman had raced a Sea Fury for another plane owner, and this year was to be the return of Checkmate. And Sherman had some difficulty on takeoff shortly before the crash. I think it was an engine failure of the aircraft, and he tried to make a turnaround to land the thing back at the airport and didn't make it back. And you also know that Sherman was was he the chief pilot, the guy in charge of the entire crew of the Betsy's Biscuit bomber cadre, of which Nick Camacho, you're a big part of as well, and your father?
Yep. Yeah, he was part of the airplane from the beginning. He's actually the one that brought the airplane back to the museum. He's trained everyone that's flown the airplane. So, yeah, big loss.
Yeah. So why don't you share a little bit with us some memories that you may have had with Sherman? I assume that a lot of them, and you have some pictures that you've included, and we want to share with our community.
And some of this stuff I think will be rehashed in Nick's interview, so I won't try to hit that. But when I got involved with the C-47, it was kind of a accident of circumstance, I guess. I was going to school not far from there, and my dad and I just went up to the museum kind of on a whim because it was nearby. It's about half an hour from where I was going to school, and got talking to a couple of the guys who were at the museum working on the C-47, just because we like C-47s. And then we found out that Sherman was the chief pilot, and my dad had known Sherman back in the 70s. They flew together a little bit, kind of hung out in the same circles because they were the same age and both into aviation and had airplanes and stuff. And so that's kind of how I got to know Sherman. And he was just welcoming from the beginning. You know, I was basically a young guy who had no pedigree to be there. I had a couple hundred hours of flight time in little airplanes. And he couldn't care less. He got me in the airplane pretty quick, started flying, pretty early, and, got a lot of, have a lot of good memories flying with him. I put some pictures in here, obviously, Friday and Saturday were pretty tough. I put some pictures in here that I found as I was going through them. In addition to the C-47, one of our museum members used to have a BT-13, and I got to fly that some with Sherman. He checked me out in that, so that was a lot of fun. That's probably one of my favorite pictures of sitting in the front with him in the back and the canopy open. Also, in addition to the flying, that was like kids, a lot less worries in my life. So it was just a fun time to be going out and flying. This is the first. So this picture is pretty standard kind of crew picture, but it was kind of cool to me because this is this would be the 2016, I guess, Salinas Air Show, and you can see me and Shane there in the picture. And this is the first time Sherman kind of cut us loose to fly without him. We were dropping jumpers at this show. Shane and I flew the airplane up there on our own. It was the first time me and him flew the airplane without Sherman. Sherman flew up in his T-28, rode with us on the practice day on Friday to make sure he was happy with everything. And then he blasted out of there. I think he had a wine function or something. I don't remember. But he couldn't be there that weekend. So he kind of gave us his final blessing and blasted out of there. So that was the first air show that Shane and I flew together without Sherman kind of holding our hands along. So that was kind of a big moment for us. This is obviously.
I'm sorry, you said wine event, or was he a co-owner of a winery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. He owned a winery in Paso Robles.
Okay.
He was pretty well known for a wine called Fighter Pilot Red.
Nice.
Yeah. And he, I think he actually retired early he was a pilot for Continental. I think he actually retired early from Continental when his winery kind of got going. He was into wine, I think, for most of his life, and started this winery with one of his buddies that he grew up with, and it was pretty successful. He was doing a lot of work there, going to a lot of functions. We were always kind of hassling him to retire from the winery so he could come fly with us more. But he enjoyed both. I'm sure that the people who did wine stuff with him think that he probably loved wine as much as anything. I'm sure he liked it a lot, but I don't know anybody who liked flying more than Sherman. So I always wish he could come with us more. But yeah, and then I put a picture in here of this is our group right as we're getting ready to leave from California. So this was like May 2nd or 3rd. And then these guys, with the exception of me and then Rob on the far left, these guys were all with the airplane for basically 2.5 months away from home. So that was a lot of stress, a lot of work, but also a lot of fun. And then I put a picture in here of I was explaining to some of the guys before the show. I'm really bummed because I didn't take any pictures of our crew after we finished up the June 6th flight over the Normandy Memorial, basically because that was kind of the big driver for our whole trip. And this, this, I don't know, 3 or 4 month long, really hard push to get the airplane ready and then get the pilots ready and proficient and then actually fly the airplane across the ocean and then, get to where we're within 100 miles of what we're going to do and still be able to finish the trip. So it was, this evening was really the first evening we could all kind of sit back and take a breath. And I took a little kind of like crew log of our crew that I put up on our Facebook page back then, but I didn't take any pictures. So this is a picture of Sherman sitting with the rest of us at dinner that night, kind of decompressing after we had kind of accomplished our ultimate mission for that trip, which was to fly over Normandy on June 6th.
Nice.
This is just Sherman and I showing how well Americans fit in European cars. In the United States, one thing we found out on our trip to Europe is in the United States, you can actually fit 5 people into a rental car reasonably well. And in Europe, that's doesn't really work as well. And so we had 5 people and we told them, oh, we'll take your smallest car. And that way, we had either 5 or 6 people. And we figured, oh, we'll just take the smallest car. It won't be a big deal. Well, it was a really small car. So here's Sherman and I squished together in Germany. And then this is a picture on the last flight I got to fly with him. This was in, May. This was actually the morning after my folks' house got hit by the tornado. So I showed up and, that was another day that was a little stressful. But by the time I was trying to decide if I needed to go home, like get on an airline and get home right away. And my dad is just like, any opportunity you get to fly that airplane, you need to go fly it. And so, of course, I talked to him and he's like, nope, I'm fine. Go fly the airplane. So I got to go fly it one more time with Sherman. And, one thing I realized as I was going through all my pictures is I do a really good job of taking pictures of myself flying the C-47. I don't know, because it's such a cool airplane, I guess. So I'm fortunate to have a lot of pictures with him, and it just kind of like reinforced to me that I should probably be doing a better job of taking pictures with all the people I get to fly with. But yeah, he was the best pilot that I probably ever flew with. I think that there's a lot of metrics you can grade pilots by. I was fortunate that I got to fly with him a lot in a kind of like an instructor-student scenario. Got to learn a lot from him. And one of the things that I like, I think one of the ways that I kind of grade people, or I kind of look at people, is especially instructors, is how well they can, how comfortable they are in the airplane with you, and how deep they can let you make a mistake. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but
No.
I've flown with 2 people, Sherman, and then a guy here at my airport here who taught me how to fly tail wheels. And the thing that stands out about those 2 guys to me is that they are so good in the airplane. They can they'll see a mistake coming and they can just kind of let you fly deeper into that mistake without getting yourself in trouble, and it just reinforces things so much better than a guy who is guarding the stick, and every time you maybe make one slight error, he says, no, don't do that. I feel like it's harder to learn something. I remember one of the first early on when I was flying with Sherman in the C-47, we were flying at the Chino Air Show in front of a bunch of people. And I had some experience in the airplane. I mean, it wasn't like my first takeoff, but, I was still pretty green. And I may have told this story on the show before. I don't know. But, we started rolling. And one of the things about the C-47 is with the single tail and the 2 engines, you get elevator control very early because you've got prop blast over the elevators, but you have no yaw control because, you're rolling 15 miles an hour or whatever, 20 miles an hour down the runway. And so I had a bad habit of getting the tail up as soon as I could from the little tail draggers that I'd flown. And so, I put the power up and immediately pushed the yoke forward. Well, the elevators are effective right away because of the prop blast. And so the tail comes up and then we kind of start yawing a little bit one way. And I just like keep putting a little rudder in, keep putting a little rudder in, keep putting a little rudder in, and nothing's happening because there's, virtually no airflow over the rudder. And I kind of arrest the yaw about the time that the rudder hits the stop. I have this extreme panic attack of, oh my gosh, I'm in a world of hurt here. What am I going to do? So then, of course, the nose starts swinging the other way, and I'm feeding in opposite rudder to try to catch it, and don't get it in time, and it overcorrects, and I just start this like sideways PIO thing, and I'm working so hard to get the airplane going straight down the runway that I'm not paying attention to the pitch, I'm not paying attention to speed or anything, and I'm a little tail low, and we fly off the ground at I don't know, maybe 80 or 82 knots. And rotate speed on that airplane is 80 or 82 miles an hour. Rotate speed's like 97 miles an hour. And so I kind of see that, and I kind of push a little bit and eventually get the speed up. We get the airplane cleaned up, and we start flying away. And through this whole thing, Sherman never said anything to me. And I'm shaking. I'm like holding the yoke so tight, and finally get like the airplane straight and level and flying away from the ground. And I just kind of look over at him, and he's looking at me, and he's just like, what are you doing over there?
What was that?
I was like,
what a great story,
Nick. So yeah, it's just things like that. And then obviously afterwards we landed and we talked through it, and he said, you've got to keep the tail wheel of this airplane on the ground longer than you expect because of the adverse yaw and rudder situation. And that's one of the first things I tell everybody. I was just having this conversation with Armando a couple weeks ago, and I met up with him because he's got DC-3 turboprop time, which is a little bit different. And we were talking through some of the different idiosyncrasies, but that's, whenever people ask me about the C-47, I always talk about taxiing. It's really hard. And then you got to keep the tail wheel on the ground because of that. And I just, it's just one of those things where I feel like that lesson got solidified in my mind because he was comfortable to just sit over there and let me make that mistake. So, he's a great guy to fly with, great guy to hang out with. I mean, Captain Nick got to spend a little bit of time with him. Wish you could have gone out on the town with him and had a little fun with him, but he was, so generous with everyone involved in aviation that was around him. Everybody loved hanging out with him. We have strong ties to Planes of Fame and some of the really well-known warbird people, and a lot of those are due to Sherman. So I'm just happy I got to spend the amount of time with him that I did.
Sweet. Yeah, he seems to be very, very well known in the warbird and racing
and much loved
community,
yeah.
and much loved. Yes,
absolutely.
Hey,
Nick.
Steph.
Hey, hey guys. Sorry for jumping in here and for being tardy. And unfortunately, I can't stay, but I knew that y'all were going to be discussing Sherman, and I just wanted to make sure I stopped in and gave my condolences to Nick, and I'm so glad I got here in time to hear that wonderful story, because I don't think I'd heard that one before, and that's fantastic, and see all these great pictures. I'm so glad that you have so many great memories, and you were able to spend so much time flying and learning from him, because those types of mentors really don't come around very often. So just wanted to pass along my condolences, and hopefully if any of his other friends or family are listening, my condolences to them as well.
Nicely said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I apologize as well, because I can't stay. Unfortunately, today has not gone the way I planned for it to. I plan to be here the entire time on the show with you lovely people, and I'm sorry about that, but hopefully I will catch you all next week, and I'll fill you in on what I've been up to and what I've been doing, because things have been busy, as per usual, I suppose.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, anyway, take care, y'all. Have a great rest of the show, and I'll go back and listen to all the things you guys have talked about. So.
Cheers, Steph.
All right.
Thanks
Bye.
for popping in.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, so we had talked about the fact that our plane tail or Nick's plane tail for this episode is focused on the interview that you had with Sherman Smoot a couple of years back, right?
2019.
Okay.
That was right, wasn't it, Nick, when you guys came across?
Okay. I mean, time flies so much now. I lose track of everything. But
well, that's true, but it was lovely to be invited up to Duxford to chat to Nick. He was a listener of the show, and he knew that we might be interested to see the aircraft. As it turned out, it was fantastic, and all the pictures you'll see during this plane tale were taken during that one day's visit with Nick and his father, his lovely father, and the rest of the crew. And of course, I got a chance to chat to Sherman, which was a real treat.
All right. Well, is it now time for us to play that? Okay, I should have been ready to go here, and I'm sorry. Let's listen to this week's Plane Tale.
It is with great sadness that our co-host Nick Camacho informed us that his friend and mentor, Sherman Smoot, died in an aircraft crash on Friday, the 2nd of September 2022. Sherman was flying a highly modified Yakolev Yak-11, nicknamed Checkmate, which was being rebuilt in preparation for the upcoming Reno air races. Our hearts go out to Sherman's friends and family, and in his memory, we'd like to replay the interview he kindly gave to Plane Tales at the Aviation Museum, Duxford, in 2019, when he flew to Europe in the C-47 Betsy's Biscuit bomber to participate in the 75th anniversary of the Normandy landings and the 70th anniversary of the Berlin airlift. The Old Pilot's Plane Tales, Dax on D-Day, Part 2. To conclude this tale of the participation of Betsy's Biscuit bomber, a World War II vintage Douglas C-47, in the 75th anniversary of D-Day on the 6th of June 1944, I cover the background of some of the pilots in the aircraft's history and how it got to take part. So I'm here with Sherman Smoot, who is the chief pilot of Betsy's Biscuit bomber. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, how did you get involved with this wonderful airplane?
Well, I was a member of the Australia Warbird Museum, and one of our donors, Glenn Thompson, bought the airplane, and he needed somebody to go up and ferry it back from Canada. So I said, I'll go. So we went up there, and the mechanics went up first, got the airplane fine. I've been sitting up there outside for 8 years. And so they got the engines cleaned out and ran them, and then I went up there and went with another guy who had much more time in a DC-3 than I did, and we brought it back.
It's a remarkable airplane with a fantastic history. Could you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, the records show that the best we can get is that she arrived in England probably about a month or so after actual D-Day invasion. So she missed D-Day about 4 to 6 weeks, but she participated in a lot of the other drops. She carried a lot of the VIPs around, but she is a complete paratrooper configured airplane. We think she did the drop in the Bulge and the Market Gardens, but we do know that she spent, at the end of the war, she was part of the Berlin airlift. Then she went to the Belgian Air Force, and then she went to the French Air Force on Lend-Lease. And then the French sold it to the Israelis. Now, I don't know how you get a leased airplane, you sell it to the Israelis, but they sold it to the Israelis, and the Israelis had it for probably 20 years. And they flew it. They put up some extra antennas on it and used it as a spy plane.
Really? A spy plane?
Yeah, they listened to all great recordings and all that stuff. And then they didn't retire. They put it in their fleet reserve program. So it spent another 10 or 15 years on ready reserve. They did all the inspections. They ran the engines. They flew it once in a while, but it really didn't fly at all. So when we got the airplane, total airframe hours in this airplane is 9,600 hours.
Wow, that's low.
Really low. Most DC-3s are 40 to 50,000.
So it could have an enormous life ahead of it.
Oh, yeah. She could. We just rebuilt the wings, had the wings gone through. We did the spark check, demated the wings and went through that and found a little bit of corrosion. Had to replace some of the flange angles, but she's ready to go.
Now, the flight out must have been interesting. Have you been down there? Is it the Blue Spruce route before?
Never.
So tell me, how did it go?
Well, I've been across the Atlantic many times as an airline pilot, and but there you have a flight attendant call button, a first class meal, and a drink holder. Going across the old routes, it was tough. I mean, a lot of planning. You're always iffy on the fuel when you get there, and if you get there and you can't land, then you really don't have much options. You have to. There's a few other ships up there, but none of them have fuel. So it took a lot of planning, and we watched the weather really, really closely, because anytime you go through Greenland, the weather is always changes in a minute there.
Now, did you drop into places like Sonderstrom Fjord?
Yeah, we did. We landed in Sonderstrom. Originally, we were supposed to go to Narsarsuaq, but we didn't because the winds were just too unpredictable. They were blowing 40 knots, and pretty much down the runway, but the winds can change at any moment. And when you get there, this airplane will not land at a 43-knot crosswind. So,
but it must have been quite impressive. I mean, I've only heard about the place and had it on our maps as an emergency diversion, but it must have been a beautiful airfield to land at.
What, Soderstrom?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that whole thing is beautiful. We actually had one of the helicopter pilots took us under his wing when we landed there, one of the SAR helicopter pilots, and we drove us all up to the ice cap, and we were standing on the Greenland ice cap, and it was spectacular. We went up there and we drank a little vodka, and it was amazing. And then taking off, we flew over the ice cap to Iceland, and it's all white, and except this guy said, "You guys, you're right on the route. Take a look." All of a sudden, you'll see what looks like a oil rig out there. But it's not. It was the early warning radar system for the U.S. government, and there's two of them. There's one at 100 miles and one at 200 miles. And we're flying along. All of a sudden, I saw a black speck out there. I said, well, what is that? We took a look, flew, there it was. Just right out of the middle of the ice, there's this structure, and it was an early warning system. People actually lived out there. And he told us he's landed a helicopter out there, and he said you can walk into the place. They left so fast. They left the dinner. The place settings were set on the table. It's unbelievable.
Wow, what a sight that must have been. Iceland, an interesting place?
Yeah, we were going to spend an extra couple days there just to sort of relax a little bit, since we, were on our last leg to get across the Atlantic. And the weather was coming up, and we couldn't find a place to stay. Our rooms, we only had our rooms there for one night. The next night, there was no place to stay. So we just loaded up the airplane and came down to Prestwick. But Iceland was beautiful, too.
Absolutely. Now, that leg from Iceland to Prestwick is quite a long leg, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably about 750 nautical miles, something like that. And it was our longest leg. And but we had tailwinds, so it worked out good.
And Betsy behaved herself?
Oh yeah, well she's been a solid thoroughbred. I mean, our only real issues were really right here in Duxford, our biggest issue, and we had a starter clutch was starting to slip a little bit, so everybody elected to just change the starter. Well, when they went to put the starter back in, actually they got it in. They reached up and grabbed it on the generator like almost falling off the airplane. And so we thought, shit. So they pulled the generator off, and it sheared all the gears inside, and that's the only thing we didn't bring was a spare generator. So, we sent out emergency text to all the guys, and the guy walked over with the generator and said, here, use this, and, when you get yours, send it to me. So put the generator on. She's running good now. And then the other engine, we were just doing an inspection just to make sure it got to tighten her up once in a while. So they're going through the engine, and they found the top rear cylinder, the short intake stack that's attached to the cylinder was all wobbly and just flopping around in there, and somebody had riveted it in. And so we had a spare cylinder, so we elected just to change the cylinder, and now she's running fine.
Brilliant. Now, I ought to make the point that you're an ex-US Navy Phantom pilot. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So, it must have been marvelous flying off the carrier and the Phantom. I envy you.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was very rewarding. The Navy flight programs, I think, is the best in the world. I mean, it teaches you how to concentrate, for sure. But you flew Phantoms. I mean, it's just a lovely airplane, you know.
Oh, it is. But the idea of doing a night deck landing would have filled me with great trepidation.
Well, the Phantom is a very stable platform. I mean, you know, we use it a lot in Vietnam as a bomber, quite frankly. And, you know, if it wasn't for some of the computer things that the A7 or the A6 had, you know, and every once in a while we'd practice behind the ship, just iron bomb sight practice. Phantoms would win all the time. It pissed them off. But we would win because it's a good, stable platform. Come aboard the ship, it's rock solid. I mean, it wasn't like the F8 or any of those other, the A7, because they had a little bit of spool-up problem, you know. But the Phantom was rock solid on approach. So you could have done it. It wouldn't have been a problem.
I would have loved to have had it go. What did you fly in the civvy world?
Well, after I got out of the military, I got a job with the airlines. Tell everybody I went to the dark side. Instead of making a military career, I decided to go for the airlines. And in Continental, I flew for Continental for 28 years. And I flew all the Boeings except the 747. I didn't fly the 747, didn't fly the 737, but I flew the 72, 75, 76, and 777. And I flew the DC-10. Loved the DC-10. I think that was one of my favorite wide bodies. It was my favorite wide body until the 777 came along. Then I thought, okay, this is a pilot's airplane. They did a nice job with the 777. Then I flew the MD-80, and I have other type ratings too. But you know, those were the airline airplanes that I flew.
Brilliant. And nowadays, you're well retired and just flying this beautiful C-47 around. Do you have anything else that you like to take airborne?
Yeah, well, yeah, I flew. We got to fly Spitfire here yesterday, and that was amazing for me. And but I'm fortunate enough to I fly warbirds sometimes. You know, I get my first warbird I ever flew was a P-47 Thunderbolt. And that was amazing to me. And then from there, started racing the unlimited race class at Reno. And so I've flown Mustangs before and P-40s and those kind of airplanes. But it's just I've been blessed, I guess. I don't know, lucky. That's pretty much what it is luck. You know, in aviation, there's skill and luck, but you know, there's a very fine line. You know. So, I mean, aviation is probably half luck as it is skill. That's the way I think of it.
Well, that's a brilliant thought. Anyway, I'd like to thank you very much indeed for chatting to us today, Sherman, and I wish you very well with the flights you have over the next few days over to Normandy.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it, really.
Having talked to Sherman Smoot for a while, I then found Nick Camacho, the friend of the APG show, who had invited me up to Duxford to look around Betsy, and I asked him how he got involved with the aircraft to eventually become one of its pilots.
But basically, my dad was a radial engine mechanic in the Air Force back in the 60s. When he kind of transitioned into civilian life, he stayed in the maintenance aviation maintenance industry and actually got involved in the 80s with a C-47 flown out of a museum in Topeka. And so I actually grew up with my dad flying a different C-47. This airplane was called Kilroy. It was out of the Combat Air Museum in Topeka. And so from the time I was born up until 1995 when they stopped flying the airplane, I just spent tons of time in the summer with my dad in the airplane. My first airplane ride I ever took, I was 10 months old on my mom's lap in that airplane. So I've been a C-47 guy since the very beginning. And then, unfortunately, the museum made some decisions and decided to stop flying the airplane in 1995. So I kind of went off and did some other things. Still kind of stayed involved in aviation. My dad had all his ratings and did a lot of flying before I was even around, and so we stayed in aviation, but kind of got out of the warbird thing a little bit. Still always loved warbirds and round engines, and then I went to school in California, in San Luis Obispo, and my third or fourth year in school out there, there was a museum about half an hour from my school, and so we were just stopping by there. My dad's from that area of California, so he'd come out to visit me regularly.
we stopped at this museum, and they had just finished repainting what is now Betsy's Biscuit Bomber. This was they acquired the airplane in about 2007, I think, and spent a couple years cleaning it up and repainting it. And then in 2009, we showed up maybe just a couple of months after the first flight. Kind of, they got it recertified in the States and everything in the first flight. And so kind of with my background and my interest, I went up there and kind of started helping them. And it's a fairly small group, and they were incredibly gracious and kind of sucked me in right away. And so that's how I got involved. And once I got involved, our chief pilot, Sherman Smoot, I got to know him pretty well. And it actually turned out that he gave my dad, he's also a local guy out there to the Central Coast of California, and he gave my dad aerobatic instruction at Satabria in like 1968. So they had known each other from way back, and then moved forward. And now my dad and I both started flying the airplane. My dad's a PIC rated pilot in the captain rated pilot in the airplane. And so we both started flying the airplane with Sherman, and we've added a couple of pilots to the group. So that's kind of the quick version of how I got into it. So when I got involved in the airplane, my dad had some friends out in the same area and was actually friends with the chief pilot. And so when I got involved with the airplane a decade ago, we kind of got into it together. And then my brother's also kind of a history buff and also a pilot and everything. So when we had the chance to come over here, he's going to be over here with us for 3 or 4 days. And then my dad's here for the duration. He's actually here for longer than I am.
Now, I didn't realize you're an entire family of pilots, yeah? At least all the male side.
Yeah. Yeah, so my mom provides all the support. And then, my dad's a pilot, and then my brother and I are both both certificated pilots also.
And also you're engineers.
Yeah, so my dad is I assume you mean mechanic in the States. My dad is an AMP-IA rated mechanic or engineer. And then I'm pretty close, I'd say in the next 3 or 4 months, planning to take all my tests. I've done all the experience stuff and everything to do, to get my airframe and power plant certificate for mechanicking in the United States. And then my brother is a little less so. He's a little more basic wrenching type of stuff, but he does also mess around with the airplanes a little bit. But me and my dad spend a lot of time working on it.
So who is that guy? That voice
I don't know. He was some hanger-on.
Sort of familiar to me. I don't know.
Yeah, but
hanger-on.
Yeah, he was just putting the GoPros on hanging some on the bits of the airplane, from what I could see.
And you thought, hey, I'm going to talk to this guy. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And it was an absolute pleasure. I felt really privileged to have been invited up there. It was lovely to meet Nick, but of course the icing on the cake was to get to chat to Sherman, and I immediately realised that there was a chance that we would be kindred spirits, and I really would have loved to have spent more time with him talking about his time in the Navy, because I think we'd have hit it off quite well if we'd been able to chat a bit longer. But it was wonderful to have had even that short time with him. He's had a wealth of experience. You could tell that flying just oozed out of him. He was a superb person to talk to. So it was great. And someone I didn't get to chat to really was Nick's father. I would have loved to have spent some time with him, but the day was just not long enough, sadly, to have dug into his life, because I think that would have been a very interesting talk as well.
Well, a plain tale, perhaps, or at a minimum, a crew log with your dad's name's Hector, right? Yeah.
Yep.
You need to do one, Nick. Come on.
Yeah.
Does he? Is he a regular listener to our show?
Yeah, he tries to.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I've met him at least a couple of times, I think, in Wichita. And that's all. I know he's a great pilot because he has a great mustache.
He does. And all I seemed to see him do was wipe up oil stains off the side of.
I think he's so
the
used to like wiping
C-47.
up and cleaning up after Nick.
After all the mess that Nick made. Yeah, you're quite right. That's probably it. Yeah.
So
No, it was a great day. Shame the weather wasn't better, but I would have, just the whole way it was set up with all the paratroopers there in their genuine wartime uniforms. All they would have, had they been able to jump, they weren't at that time, but when they did jump, using round parachutes to replicate what the guys in the airborne would have done jumping on over Normandy on D-Day. It was very exciting, very, very atmospheric, and with those lovely vintage airplanes there, it was superb. It was a fantastic day out.
Yeah, they weren't jumping with those little prissy parachutes that like Dr.
No,
Steph
not
uses
those,
when
not those flying wing things. It was good. It was good. It was lovely to meet Nick, but of course, very poignant now looking back on that chat.
I really wish I'd had a
with
chance
Sherman.
to meet Sherman. I never got that opportunity, and
I think you'd have enjoyed his company enormously.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. Well, here's to Sherman Smoot. Rest in
Absolutely.
peace.
Shame you've gone, old chap.
All right. Anything else to say, Nick, before we move the show
No, unless
along?
other Nick wants to pipe up.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Good man.
Well, thank you
Good,
for
thank you.
sharing your excuse me, sharing your memories with us. I know that was not an easy thing to do. And all right, well, we won't dwell on that. Let's do this.
Captain, incoming message.
All right. This was sent to us from Mark Van Ram, the handsomest of the two Van Ram brothers. No, I'm just kidding, Tim.
Having said that, they're both pretty ugly. So,
I did not say that. That was Nick.
Only
Tim.
joking. Only joking.
No, they're both very, very beautiful people. Yes, I love them both very deeply. We won't go into details. Mark Van Ram sent this. He says, reserve, or actually sent us a link to an article about a reserve, a U.S. Air Force Reserve philanthropist develops e-course to help others fly at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. And let's see, that's in North Carolina. That's in North. There we go. When she was a little girl, Captain Kristen Nikki Bodie, 77th Air Refueling Squadron KC-46 pilot, used to lay in the grass with her grandmother on their farm in rural Saluda, South Carolina, and watch the fighter jets from nearby Shaw Air Force Base and McIntyre Joint National Guard Base fly overhead, wondering where they were going and what it would be like to fly through the clouds. I don't know what it's like to fly through the clouds. I always avoid them. Her journey to become an Air Force pilot took years, and she flew all around the world in order to reach her goal. But Bodie took the things she's learned and developed an online course to help others find their path more easily. Bodie remembers sitting in church as young as 5 years old, hearing the preacher talk about serving in the military or as a missionary, and thinking, he's talking about me. Someday, I'm going to leave my family and serve. Her love of watching airplanes spurred a strong desire to fly them. Every time I mentioned becoming a pilot, teachers in school would say, "Girls don't do that," Bodie said. I didn't know of any female pilots, so I believed them until I got to college, and a good friend took flight lessons and asked if I wanted to go on a flight. Bodie, who is attending Clemson University, immediately fell in love with being in the air. Determined to become a professional pilot, she enrolled in a program at Embry-Riddle University. Upon completion of her MBA in aviation management and obtaining her flight ratings, Bodie landed her first flying job during aerial survey in a Cessna 172. It's like Stephen Ivey, one of our APG community members. As a brand new pilot, she was in charge of all aspects of each mission, from coordination to logistics, refueling, maintenance. That taught me a lot about myself as a person and a pilot. I was out there traveling the country by myself with nothing but my suitcase and this tiny little airplane. It put me out of my comfort zone and made me more confident. After 8 months, she began flying mapping missions in the King Air 200s, working 7 days a week, followed by 7 days on, followed by 7 days off. Looking to fill her time off, Bodie found Wings of Hope, a humanitarian organization that flies to highly remote locations to provide life-saving care interventions to people who have never had a chance to see a doctor. This mission was close to her heart for personal reasons. She says, when I was around 8 years old, I watched my cousin Lauren struggle through leukemia, so it meant a lot to me to fly these missions. When my cousin died, it was so impactful. My entire life, I knew I needed to give back. As the only young woman volunteering, Bodie had to work hard to build her credibility there. I would clean the hangar, mop, trade apple dumplings and pecan pie to learn. There, she learned to weld, do engine overhauls, change gears, fabrication, upholstery, and more. After a few months, she began flying children with terminal illnesses and disabilities around the country for treatment. She became more and more involved with Wings of Hope, eventually becoming a board member and assisting on a global level. She also started volunteering in the organization's Summer SOAR, S-O-A-R, into STEM, S-T-E-M, program, partnering with Boeing to bring high-risk youth into the hangar to mentor them. We would talk about the military and show them how to join and get college paid for and help them get out of situations they're in and to something fulfilling. Pretty much from the minute I first flew at Clemson in 2009, I wanted to join the military, she said. For years, I tried to email my package to all the units I was interested in, was not getting any response. By 2015, she finished her MBA fully rated and working for Republic Airlines as a first officer flying the Embraer 170. Through all those years, that nagging feeling that she would serve in the military had never left. Standing out among her peers with higher education and 3,000 flying hours, she was selected for officer training school and undergraduate pilot training after a recruiter suggested that she put in an unsponsored package. Several squadrons called to interview her, and she joined the 916th Air Refueling Wing at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, North Carolina, as a KC-135R Stratotanker pilot. It was a backward way of doing things and a very hard way to get into the reserve, she said, who jokes that she had to fly all the way around the world to get to her goal of serving in the military. And the article continues and talks about how she set up this e-course and basically, paying back, giving back to the wonderful career that she is currently having in the military reserve and also, of course, her airline career. So if you want to read more, we'll have a link in the show notes. And right now we're showing we were showing a nice photo until I said that, of Bodie in front of a KC-46, I think. Yeah. Air refueling tanker. And it's a free e-course. You can go to bogeydope.com. It's funny. Course is affordable. So anyway, she's giving back to the
Absolutely.
community.
It sounds like a great way to find out information about how to get scholarships and how to enroll, how to write yourself up to applications, all the sort of nitty-gritty of submitting yourself to follow the same path that she took. So really nice of her to give back in this way and help people, take those first few steps to follow her career, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So well done, young lady. Thank you very much indeed.
Oh, yeah. Liz is mentioning that there's some parallels with our Captain Craig, who is a huge member of our APG community, who was flying
He's
for
not
Republic.
that big, is he?
Well, I mean, he's bigger than I am.
Oh,
I
okay,
mean,
all right,
height-wise, not in girth.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But anyway, he flew for Republic and is now flying for. Has he gone through training yet at FedEx? Okay, he's still at the Air Force. Well, he's active duty at this point because he's going through training on the C-17, which will be affiliated with the reserve unit at Martinsburg, Virginia, flying the C-17. And anyway, so his flying career is just going gangbusters. So, yeah, I agree, Liz. Very kind of a similar path that they're both taking. All right. Sam writes in, hello all. I have a suggestion regarding individual pilots' option of when to take control of a commercial aircraft. I realize each company has different standard operating procedures, but I feel pilots should not be able to log in hours for any time the aircraft is in autopilot mode.
Ooh.
we would not have a lot of hours.
No, I'd have about 150 hours total flying then.
No, you'd probably have more. Well, maybe, yeah.
Well, with my
close.
my military stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm counting all the military stuff, and
Yeah.
a lot of my flying in the military was not on autopilot.
I didn't know what an autopilot was.
Exactly. Anyway, so he goes on. Reasons being, as you all seem to agree, maybe he's misunderstood us, pilots chose to fly, and they should as much as possible in order to remain skilled and continue to improve. We never know what's going to happen and when. They should be ready as possible at all times. As well, if not mandatory, it will give many an incentive to fly the aircraft. They're sitting in the seat anyway. I have to admit that I prefer to see an older pilot on the flight deck. Yeah, I do too.
Well, everyone's likely to die of a heart attack, so I'm not so
wait,
keen.
Hey, please see my next email regarding the crash at Sioux City in 1989. Take care. He says, I love your podcast. I'm learning so much, having a few good laughs. You're a good group together. Thank you, Sam. So, people that have listened to the show understand that many of us kind of, say that it's important to exercise manual flying skills, but in the airline world, especially the long-haul airline world, but even in the domestic world of flying air transport aircraft, like the type of jets that I fly, anywhere from half an hour to a couple hour flight, so pretty relatively short flights. If we had to hand fly the entire time, that would become very fatiguing and monotonous. And so, we do fly a lot, hand flying, but, the autopilot is definitely a safety item that you want to have on. When the autopilot is on, you're still flying the airplane. That's a point to be made. A lot of people think that as soon as you switch the autopilot on, you're not even thinking about you're not even paying attention to what the airplane's doing. But no, you're still actively flying the airplane just through the autopilot system. And sometimes it's even more taxing, in my opinion, than actually just turning everything off and hand flying the airplane, because you have to start thinking about what is programmed into the autoflight system and if it's going to be doing what you think you told it to do. And would you agree, Captain Nick?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. There are a couple of points there. First of all, it's usually illegal to hand fly the airplane in the cruise because you're in RVSM airspace, reduced vertical separation minima, and you're obliged to use the autopilot because of the small altitude difference between aircraft that are flying only 1,000 feet rather than the usual 2,000 feet. So one, you legally can't. Two, there's no real skill in flying straight and level. I could teach my grandmother to fly straight and level in 30 seconds and she'd probably do a reasonable job of it. So you're not improving your flying skills in the cruise. You're just drilling holes through the sky, maintaining the same height, the same speed, and the same heading. So, that's it. The fact is, you don't really need to be able to brush up on those skills. It's the manoeuvring which occurs in the descent and landing, the takeoff and climb. So a lot of the time, you just put the autopilot in because there's no benefit from hand flying. The other thing is that you need to, in many situations, be able to drop the workload of hand flying the airplane so you can sit back in an emergency situation and analyze what is going on. And the autopilot's a great tool for that. So if the workload gets very high, even in just a very difficult approach or in a complicated go-around like you might have Hong Kong, it's quite important to have a autopilot engaged so you don't have to use half your brain to manually fly the airplane, and you can use your whole brain just to monitor what the airplane is doing so you don't fly into a damn hill by accident because
Which is
you
not a good thing.
overloaded yourself. Yeah.
Not
So for those very good reasons, we need to use the autopilot. And let's not forget, the autopilot's been around since the days of biplanes. Mr. Sperry, good old Mr. Sperry, chucked one in, and he had an autopilot, within not that many years of the first manned flight. So they've been around for a long time, and they are an essential part of civil aviation.
Yes.
So I see where you're going with this. I quite understand, but no, I'm afraid got to think a little bit deeper. What we need to find a way to do is to improve manual dexterity and flying skills in a way that is compatible with operating a successful civil airline.
Yeah.
Regards older pilots on the flight, it used to amuse me enormously when I started getting grey hair because people naturally assume that you're a better pilot because you've been around longer.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you've just been around longer.
Well, no. So the old saying, which is kind of sort of true. Like there are old pilots and bold pilots, but not old bold pilots. I don't know. That's not actually 100% accurate. I don't believe, but yeah. There is something to having the gray hair and.
There is, but on the other hand, you're slower. Your reaction time is down. You're relying more on experience rather than being freshly trained and very knowledgeable. Because the last time you delved into the books was probably a while ago, unless you're an extremely conscientious pilot like Jeff and Nick C. I wouldn't necessarily trust an old pilot more than I would a young pilot, because we all were young once, and we survived this long because we've been reasonable pilots, not better pilots.
Yeah, and a lot of luck.
Yeah, yes, that's a lot of luck.
As Sherman mentioned, half of it's luck, right?
Yeah. So your heart's in the right place, Sam.
Yeah.
But you might need to rethink some of those ideas.
Right.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention, kind of along the lines of what Nick Anderson said, a lot of times in general aviation flying, the autopilot's kind of taking the place of your co-pilot because, a lot of guys are flying around smaller airplanes, single engine airplanes, single pilot. And I have a lot of friends who will not, I have, had conversations with multiple friends who have said, I'll fly IFR and GA airplanes, but I'll do it with a co-pilot or I'll do it with an autopilot, but I won't do it without either of them. And it's because of, it's like the standard operating scenarios they can manage. But once you start like stacking things on top of each other, it's nice to be able to push that button and have the airplane just fly straight and level for 30 seconds. Like if you have a missed approach and you got to write down something new from the controller, it's nice for the airplane to fly itself just to give you time to kind of recalibrate what you're doing. And I think that kind of goes back to, you just have to, whatever you're going to be flying, you just have to be good at using all the tools you have. And if you have an autopilot, you should be proficient in how to use it and be able to, expect to be able to use it to its maximum capability. But you should also be able to operate the airplane in its full regimes without the autopilot. And just having both of those skills is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, knowing when to plug it in and when to hand fly it is a very important skill in itself. So
Yeah, it is.
Agree entirely, Nick.
Neil Lamworm says in our audience, Rick doesn't delve into the books. He is the books. Yeah, Miami Rick is. Yeah, he's very knowledgeable about a lot of things.
Yeah, he's a hardcover as well. He's not a paperback.
There you go. Well, Sam, the same guy that just talked about that autopilot thing, says, hello, please tell me if I'm wrong regarding my conflicted feelings about the two accidents, Sioux City versus the Hudson River. I strongly feel that Captain Haynes, Sioux City, and the entire crew were heroes that will go down in history. I cannot imagine the sequence of events that had to take place to get that plane down as well as they did. And again, this the DC-10 that had the number 2 engine failure, and that basically took out all of the hydraulics of the aircraft, and they had no control, the normal controls of the aircraft, ailerons, elevators, the stuff that most airplanes need to have to fly, to control them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's see. In my opinion, this is where experience pays off. Nobody can tell me that they got lucky to have saved half the people under those circumstances. Yeah, sadly, about half the people perished in the crash landing of this DC-10 in Sioux City. But definitely skill had a lot to do with it, and experience. On the other hand, I cannot understand why the landing of a plane in the Hudson was such a miracle. Wasn't that a textbook landing? Right? I always say, hey, look, they give Sully all these accolades, and I'm thinking, I land the airplane on like a concrete runway, like every time I go out there on a trip, many times.
Yeah, that's a lot harder than water.
I know. I mean, nobody ever gives me like accolades and makes a movie.
He didn't even have to remember to put the gear down.
I'm being facetious, of course. Understand, I'm not trying to discount the crew at all. They did what they were trained to do and did it well. I just feel that the incident was so overrated, if you will, regarding the pilot's skills for the situation they were placed in. Heck, a movie was even made. Was it because it was New York? Haha. Well, maybe. I did find out as much as I could regarding the accidents before making my conclusions. I'm very open-minded, would like to know if I'm missing anything. Aviation interests me so much, and I am eager to learn as much as I can. I am learning much from all of you. Thank you so much. And this is Sam again. So, that's an interesting viewpoint. I don't know if you can really directly compare the two or say one was, more difficult situation than the other. I think they were both very difficult situations. I think that Sioux City, if I had to choose either of those two situations, I would definitely choose the flame out for the birds and landing in the Hudson River than the Sioux City, Iowa thing. Mayman Micah in our audience says, I don't think it was the actual landing that was a miracle. It wasn't particularly remarkable. What was more interesting was the decision making. And basically the decision making in such a short time frame. When you have no power or very little power and have to make the decision of where to put the airplane, you just have to go with what you think is the best thing to do, and then you just have to commit to it. You can't, and he did. Sully and the first officer, Jeff Skiles, made the decision to land in the Hudson River. Was it exactly the right decision? Well, everybody lived, so you could argue yes, that was the right decision. Could they have made it back to an airport, not in the river? Maybe, but a lot of analysis has gone on regarding that. But it's easy to do things, and once you know all the information and you have hindsight. But at the time, you just have to do what you feel, and that's when experience really comes into play. What you feel like is the thing that you have to do in that situation. I don't know. What do you all think?
Well, I don't believe that you should really compare accidents because they're completely different scenarios and situations. Yes, they made a movie about the Miracle on the Hudson because they thought it would sell, not because they thought it was a remarkable accident that deserved a place in history. And, of course, there has been a lot of publicity about it, but back in the day when Captain Ogg crashed his aircraft halfway between San Francisco and Honolulu and everybody survived, that was the equivalent in that era of, it was a Strutter cruiser, I think, wasn't it?
I think so.
I'm trying to remember.
But what about all those animals in the cargo?
Yeah, well, he killed all the budgerigars or whatever and the pets in the cargo holder, but they didn't have life jackets. Captain Ogg was on the front page of Life magazine, and he was fated as a incredible hero for saving everyone on board. There've been other occasions, and there was a similar sort of situation with a Japanese 747 where they lost all their hydraulics. They flew around for like 45 minutes with this aircraft cavorting around the sky. They were unable to keep control of it, and they crashed, and very sadly everyone died. One of the largest losses in Japanese aviation history. Now, Captain Haynes and his crew did a fantastic job, but there was an A300 crew who were hit by a missile, and they had a very similar situation with absolutely no hydraulics, only 2 engines to use to control the airplane, and they had a wing on fire. And they got the airplane back in such good shape that they fixed it and tried to sell it afterwards because it was airworthy again. So, you could say, well, in comparison, that was a very similar accident. That crew did a better job. So I don't like the idea of comparing these accidents. No one wants to be in these appalling situations. And I think you've just got to admire the crews for what they did at the time in their situation. They were all remarkably good crews. They did their best. Some cases it worked, some cases it didn't, or to a different degree. So don't worry about whether you think one deserves a higher place in history than another. Just learn about the intricacies of the accident, take away what you can from it, stow it away as we as pilots do in our heads, thinking, well, if I'm in a similar situation, I now know of someone and I know what they did to get out of it. Perhaps I can use that in the future to solve a problem I get. So that's the way I think of it.
Well said.
Oh, by the way, you said they did what they were trained to do. No one's ever trained to ditch an airplane. It's a bit expensive.
yeah, not real-time training. Maybe
there's
simulator.
No ditching simulator.
And even in the simulator, they don't let you actually hit at least in my experience, they won't let you hit the water because I think that they're afraid that you're going to mess up the simulator.
Well, exactly right. Yeah, we've done a ditching drill right down to the point where we
they go, I want to.
Yeah, and then they said, "Okay, well done. We'll take that as read now." Yeah.
Oh, Neil Landwarm in our audience, Landwarn. I'm sorry. If you ditch, do you log it as a water landing?
Oh yeah, and you get qualification.
If you live through it.
Can then fly flying boats, no problem at all. Have you done any float flying, Nate?
Nope.
No? Okay.
I have not
I think
either.
you should.
I would like to. We've talked about putting floats on our Champ, but there's not a lot of options around where I'm at. So we'd have to go to Arkansas. Has some good float flying.
Bit short on legs.
You don't want to go to Arkansas.
No. Okay. It's just that it seems to me that you can go to a whole variety of different landing spots if you got floats on. can't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Must be
Hey,
fantastic.
Captain Nick, I
And
know it's getting late for you there in London
I've
town.
got another half hour.
Okay, excellent. Good to hear. Thank you. Let's continue on. Texas Charlie, he always sends us a lot of feedback. He says, so are airmen smarter or just more secure in their manhood? I'm thinking, what is he talking about? So let's watch this little video clip to see what he's talking about. Okay, so there shows an Army person and a Navy person, a Marine Corps person going over this gate, and then the Air Force guy just walks around. Here, let me play it again. Army jumps over it. Navy, she kind of does a, what do you call that?
Limbo.
Yeah. Marine, he does the most strenuous physical.
Like a pommel horse. Over it.
Yeah, and then the Air Force guy just looks everybody and puts his hands in his pocket and walks around the outside of it. I think that's pretty smart, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That wasn't me. That was you. Okay. Is it me? No, it's not me. It's you. No, it's not you. It's me. What is this one? Yeah, but we're not going to talk about it on the show. Let's continue with, hang on. Here it is. Thank you, Texas Charlie, for that. Duncan, by the way, before we go on, so in the U.S. anyway, I don't know what it's like over there in the U.K. and other countries around the world, but there are certain reputations and stereotypes that people have for the various armed services. Excuse me. And the one that is very prevalent and maybe partially true is that the military branch here in the U.S. that is more focused on like really nice officers clubs well, I don't even think they have those anymore. Golf courses, painted curbs, and like really really nice bases, facilities, that kind of thing, are the Air Force bases, and where we put our emphasis and priorities. And then, like some of the other services are more focused on like, the mission itself, and their bases are not like the same level as the Air Force bases. And if you ask anybody of my vintage, and maybe newer generations, like when they go to military installations on cross-country flights and that kind of thing, where they'd like to go, and like all the Navy guys, Marine guys, they always say, "Oh, we'd always go to Air Force bases because the facilities were always so much nicer and everything else." So, and we'd always go to their Navy bases and that kind of thing and go, "Oh man, these people, they have their priorities straight. They put all their money in the operations, and obviously they don't spend it on their facilities." But that's just kind of a stereotype, but which is kind of probably sort of true. I don't know.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I remember.
Is it the same thing in the UK?
Well, not so much. Yes, I think so, probably. But I mean, the example I was thinking of, I was out in Australia on exercise, pitch black up in Darwin, and we deployed our F-18s, and we were put up downtown in a big hotel, and lots of allowances and bars and all, etc. So when we finished flying, we had somewhere to go and relax in air-conditioned comfort and eat and drink as much as we wanted. The Marine Corps had arrived as well. They had a bunch of A6s or something. I'm trying to remember what now. And they were given a concrete square, and the edge of Darwin, North Australia, very hot and uncomfortable, and where they parked their airplanes, and they pitched a whole bunch of tents all the way around this square, and that's where they lived. No aircon.
Oh, tense.
You know, and it was a night exercise, pitch black. That's what it was called, because we did nothing but night flying. So all the pilots had to try and sleep during the day with the airport in full activity, you know, with civil flights and with other aircraft around doing various, you know, flying in, flying out, engine runs, all that stuff. And then they had to get up as the sun set, having had a hot, sweaty day in an unair-conditioned tent all day trying to sleep, and go fly all night. And I was going, you guys are nuts, you know.
It's not civilized at all.
No, come on. That's silly. But there you go. I couldn't understand that. But.
Well, it's interesting that I guess it's sort of true, across the civilized world anyway, as far as military services. And you know what? It's okay. You can make fun of me regarding that. I enjoyed my time in the U.S. Air Force.
Me too.
Duncan 7 writes in, and he says, "Hello all. Thought you might like to see the short clip of a very lucky PA-28 pilot landing at Kemble Airport, Gloucestershire. It's an airplane
Gloucestershire.
Gloucestershire.
That's the one.
Gloucestershire. It's an Worcestershire. It's an airplane storage facility as well as an active airfield, hence the variety of aircraft visible in the video. Cheers for now, Duncan Jones." And then he writes, "Doe." So here we go. Oh, I think he was saying doe because he forgot to include the link to the video. But
I think
anyway.
the pilot was saying that as well.
Or, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, when you see this, you'll think, oh, no, it's probably the guy that's, well, here, let's watch this. It's kind of amusing. So it's a kind of a security video.
Here he comes up, so he's coming in, he's landing. No,
I'm not really sure where this airplane is trying to land. There's a bunch of so are they like just taxiing out, or are they parked?
No, I think they're in storage.
Storage. Okay, so they're in storage. I guess maybe the pandemic storage.
Yeah, a bunch of A320s by the looks of it.
Yeah, tail to nose to tail, very close by on a taxiway, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, between two of these looks like Airbuses, is a PA-28 that's attempting to make some sort of landing.
Red cars come in. Here he comes up, so he's coming in, he's landing. No,
Wow. I mean, he doesn't touch down until he's nearly between them.
And obviously the people watching this video are having a laugh. I don't know really what's happening here. Just see the video clip. What would you say regarding this? Nick Camacho, you're our GA pilot representative here.
Yes,
what was this guy?
This before?
Is this a kind of a normal thing that you guys do?
I have not attempted this maneuver that is shown here.
Yeah, it must have been some kind of an emergency situation for this.
He's not slow either, is he?
No. So that's the thing that kind of caught my attention is he's going pretty fast.
Yes.
And I would assume, I'm not familiar with this airport.
He comes up, so he's coming in, he's landing.
But I would assume that there's a fair amount of open space, if not around the perimeter of the airport, at least like in the center of the airport. And he just threads that thing like a needle right through the edge of this.
Liz is saying he hit the tree. I mean, if you watch this video at the very end of it and look at the trees, because he disappears behind the trees, and then you see the tree kind of shake. I hope they are okay. Let's see. Watch this. And
oh yeah, he did hit the tree pretty hard.
Well, I think he kind of used up all the open space.
Yeah,
he left that behind him.
Yeah.
Neil says the cafe is really nice there. He was just peckish. Oh, okay. That was sort of an emergency, a food emergency. Yeah.
Or a toilet emergency.
Yeah, a toilet emergency, yeah. I have no idea what's happening here, but pretty funny. Okay. let's continue. Thank you, Duncan, for sending that in. If you know any more about this particular incident, let us know, because that's, yeah. Adam, number 8, Pocket Rocket. Oh, I'm supposed to share a Chrome. Okay, so let me do that. Let me get this thing set up for sharing so that when it comes to the appropriate time, I'll have it all ready. Chrome tab, and I'm looking for this. This is pretty cool. Okay, back to StreamYard. Nope, back to, sorry for the plosive there. Adam Catling. Hi, Flyers. High Flyers. High Flyers. Not quite a pocket rocket, which we shall say no more on, but a pocket bomber. We've all heard of the noise generators that make synthetic white noise to aid sleep or concentration, which are always a bit meh. Well, a friend in the Moby Flight Discord community sent me this link to a B-17 and B-19. B-19? What's a B-19? Noise generator for drowning out background noise. Needless to say, I was doubtful at first, but I've got to say this is seriously impressive, with a host of presets and fine-tuning also available. Fuel, mix, comma, throttle, comma, comms, volume, etc. This sounds fantastic on decent headphones or speakers and is really quite relaxing. And then it gives us this link to this website, company, whatever, I've known about for a while. In fact, I have their app, and I use it quite often to kind of have some white noise or whatever in the background, and I can put my headset in, and it drowns out everything. And my favorite is, well, might be the B-17 when we listen to that this very shortly. But I usually choose the one that says fan, like a regular oscillating fan. That just seems to be the perfect kind of background sound for me to kind of just go to sleep. Anyway, he says, I'm not sure if it's particularly noteworthy, as no doubt you've all seen better and indeed have the real thing. Well, more modern aircraft like an Airbus anyway. But I thought there may be another av geek out there that may also like this for drowning out the bus, office, wife, kids too. Okay. Blue side up and all the good stuff to you all. Okay, so what he's talking about, again, is a website, mynoise.net. They also have apps that you can download to your phones. I have it on my iPhone. And I am going to now hit the share button and add it to the stream. And then I'm going to go back to the page and actually hit the play. I don't know. Can you guys hear that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it has several different audio tracks. Obviously, the sound of the propellers in the background. You can individually like block out certain things. Like, for instance, if I were using this as an aid for sleeping, I would probably the radio chatter I'd probably eliminate, because that might be something that might keep my brain kind of, trying to listen to what's being said on the radio. But let's see, the rumble here, you can adjust, like, let's give it more rumble. Ooh, that's a lot of rumble. The prop noise, oh, that sounds good. And here's some more props. And so you can adjust the different, the higher frequency props. Lots of prop selections here on this. What do y'all think about this? Can you hear me? Have they all fallen asleep?
I was just getting, early into that.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, absolutely.
They have things like Tibetan, what do they call those meditation sounds? Like those, I don't know if it's called a prayer wheel or not. Sounds good. Anyway, and it's free. Now, if you get the app, I think you had to pay something for the app. but I gladly paid for it. But I don't have any cool airplane things like B-17 prop sounds on my iPhone app. Maybe I need to figure out how to download that.
Funny enough, I find an audio book that does equally good, or in fact, listening to our own podcast does a...
Oh yeah, that puts me right to sleep. And I know it puts a lot of people out there that use it to fall asleep.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, when I'm editing the show, sometimes I'll go, oh, well, how long have I been out? I need to go back 15, 20 minutes to take over. Anyway.
By the way,
cool.
the B-19 was a Douglas heavy bomber.
Oh.
Similar, I guess, to the Fortress or the Super Fortress. It was, in fact, the largest bomber built for the USAF until 1946, but it never really got beyond the XB-19. So it wasn't built en masse.
A heavy bomber, did they say?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh.
Crew of 16, bunch
Wow.
of machine guns.
That's a big crew.
Have you ever heard of
63
that?
tons, 140,000 pounds gross weight.
Wow.
So yeah, it didn't go into full production.
I'd never heard of the B-19. Interesting. I've heard of the B-17 and the B-29.
There you go.
And the B-24. All right.
One was put on display at Hill Aerospace Museum at Hill Air Force Base in Ogden, Utah.
Okay. I've been to
And
Hill.
the other has been on display at the National Museum of the United States Air Force in Dayton, where I know you have been.
No, I've not been there. I've never been
in
there.
In the early years gallery.
Well, apparently we missed that. Or if we
Yeah, we
did
did.
go through the early years gallery, Nick, I think that maybe I wasn't paying attention.
I'm not sure it's in there.
Oh, it might have
now.
moved?
Yeah, maybe, because I mean, I was just there a couple months ago, and I definitely do not remember seeing it.
Oh,
interesting.
But I was also rushing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't remember seeing it.
Well, perhaps it's been moved on.
All right. Let's see. We have another stop screen sharing. There we go. Share another video file. Becky sent this in to us. Becky Rausch. And here we go. I'm going to add it.
You're not going to be able to do that. Flighting of 350.
Cancel VFR flight following.
If you go out there, you're going to be in serious problems. I'm not kidding here. They called and they said, do not let anybody go near the warning area. So if you want to cancel flight following, that's fine with me, but I want you to know it ain't going to get you on course.
When you say near the warning area, they don't own that airspace. They just get to use it. Is that correct?
They're using it. They told us don't let anyone go near there. The military's operating out there. I don't know how to make myself more clear to you. If you go that way, you're going to meet new friends and you're not going to want to meet them.
Really? I'll just check when I get on the ground. I'll avoid the airspace, but I'm going to check when I get on the ground because I understand that you can go through an MOA and they're just operating in there just like I would be, and there's no rule against it. Am I wrong?
You know, honestly, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, and I've been at work 11 minutes now, and you are the first aircraft so you're not.
He's talked to. And that was the end of that little thing there. So I wouldn't say that they're arguing with each other, but there may be just a difference of opinion as to what is perhaps legal to do and maybe smart to do. But so there's a couple of different terms they're using here which are not the same thing. The controller is talking about a warning area, and I'm not sure where this happened. But if they're talking about a warning area, those are usually off the coastline of the United States. And those are not the same thing as a military operating area, a MOA. MOAs are usually the kind of airspace that I used to use when I was an instructor pilot and a student in pilot training, where you could, if you were not on an instrument flight plan, if you were a VFR, you could fly right through the middle of a military operating area. I don't think it would be a very smart thing to do. And in fact, I was among many who used to go to small little airports that were underlying our MOAs when I was at Columbus Air Force Base as an instructor pilot. And I'd go out there and explain to them what is happening in these military operating areas. And we're not clearing for traffic, I can tell you that. We're doing all kinds of, aerobatics and formation flying and spins and unusual attitude recoveries and all kinds of things that don't really allow for really good clearing for other airplanes out there, like VFR airplanes that decide that they don't want to go around these operating areas and they want to go through them. So I've always tried to explain to people, don't do that, because we're not gonna see you and we could possibly hit you and then end everybody's life, and that's not a good thing. Warning areas, though, that's a completely different thing. Those are like restricted areas. Those are you can't, if you're. Yeah, Liz is asking about, is that like the same sort of area that they would have in place for like a rocket launch and that kind of thing? Yes, the same sort of areas that they don't want people flying around because it would be dangerous for them to be flying around. So I think that I'm confused a little bit about this conversation and what exactly the area is that they're talking about. But if they're talking about a MOA, a military operating area, yes, the Learjet pilot, I think it's a Learjet pilot or a Citation pilot, he's right. You can, if you're not in an instrument flight plan, fly through them. Again, highly not recommended by me and most people. Warning areas, no. That's kind of like you can't go unless you have permission to go in there. And as the controller said, you're going to have friends that you don't want to see there, and it's not going to be a good thing. iHaul Boxes says the things you have to do to meet new friends these days. Yeah, I don't know. Nick Camacho, do you have? So, what's your? Have you heard that regarding military operating areas, MOAs? I would imagine that Wichita probably has some MOAs in the vicinity that you have to, and if you're on a VFR flight plan, I think I'm correct, you can fly through them if you want to, but it's usually discouraged.
Correct, yeah. The only thing I'm not sure, or the thing that came up in that conversation that guy was having is, he wasn't even on an IFR flight plan. He was on flight following, which is VFR flying.
Yeah.
And so I would not have, I would have thought the controller would have had to, and this is I'm going to say it, Jeff. This is an opposing basis thing.
Oh, you're right.
But I would have thought the controller would have, I would have thought the controller would have had to say, like, not able, terminating flight following or something. I don't think the controller can say you can't go there.
I agree with you.
When you're on flight following.
Yeah.
So that was the part that interested me. But yeah, MOAs, I agree with you, everything you said. And you can even, MOAs are active or cold, and you can call and find out, whether they're going to be cold or not. And if you're on an instrument flight plan, there are times that you can fly through them because they're not going to be active. And yeah, I agree with everything you said. I just, I don't know, like you, I don't know where that happened. I don't know what that guy's flight path looked like. I don't think that that's a hill I would have died on, especially when you're flying a really fast airplane. I can't imagine it added much time to his flight. I don't think that's a hill I would have died on in either one of those positions.
Yeah, I think the hard thing about it is, for me, is the fact that they're using terminology that's not the same.
Standardized, yeah. I agree.
I mean, both of them are, warning areas are a thing and MOAs are a thing, but one's talking about one and one's talking about another. I'm thinking, well, what is it? What are we talking about here? Yeah. And so we can't get really any further on this because we don't really know exactly what the truth is on, no clarity. Thank you, Liz. Nick, Captain Nick, anything to add or subtract to that?
No, I think you need a yeehaw in there, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just go for
now,
it. Just turn the
anyone
radio
can
off and
in
go.
there. Yeah. No, these are terms and airspaces that I'm not familiar with.
Right. Yeah, it's clearly a U.S. thing.
Yep, afraid so.
All right. All right. Thank you, Liz. She's telling us we have about 20 minutes or so left. Yeah, I do want to do Josh's video. Thank you, Liz. Josh in Tulsa, whom I am going to hopefully see in number 11 in a couple of weeks. Let's see, it's the 7th, 19th, just under 2 weeks. I'm going to have a layover there, and I'm going to meet up with Sean and his wife and Larry and Josh, this guy that sent us this. Yeah, I have another date with Larry. Thanks, Liz. I told you to keep that kind of, quiet. Thank you. Josh in Tulsa writes in, Jeff, hi there. Hope all is well. I'm making good on an old promise to you from the last time we had lunch together in Tulsa. I mentioned an aviation-themed office project that I was working on and promised some pictures. Since I put it off for so long, I decided to do a video tour. Hope you enjoy. Let me know if you want to stop by on a Tulsa layover. Thanks, as always, and safe travels. Josh in Tulsa. I don't know the exact term to use as far as what Josh does for a living, but it has something to do with high-end sports broadcasts, and I think replay video, and I think he mostly does like professional golf tournaments, but he does more than just that. But I think that's kind of his specialty, and when they are constantly going back to this hole and that hole, when they're covering something, and then they play the replay, and he has something to do with that. And I'm sorry, Josh, if I'm wrong about exactly what you do, but it's something to do with broadcast video. And you'll see in this video that he made for us, looking at his new aviation-themed office, you'll see some of his very sophisticated professional equipment in the studio here. So without further ado, let's take a look at Josh's aviation-themed office.
Hi, APG community. This is Josh from Tulsa. Captain Jeff, the last time you were here, we had lunch. I had mentioned a airplane-themed office project that I was working on. And at that time, I promised you some pictures. Well, I've put it off so much that I thought I'd just do a video feedback. So why don't you come on in and take a look around. The whole idea started with this map. This is a beautiful map I ordered online well before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I bring that up because it's shipped directly from Kyiv. It's a Ukrainian company and they do great work. Check them out if you'd like to get your own. They have all different colors and sizes. The first actual aircraft component was this Stage 1 compressor fan assembly of the JT8D engine. I ordered it at the beginning to work on this table, and this is the piece that ended up taking me the longest to construct. Getting all these blades to this level of shine was no small task, but I think it turned out. The posters throughout the room are all old airline destination advertisements. I selected from many different airlines through many different regions and many different color schemes to try and get something that looks nice. This pair of seats is from the first class section of a retired Delta MD-88. Long live the Mad Dog. They come in pairs, so it was no small task to separate them and make two individual seats, but I enjoyed the challenge. Everything still works, the tray tables and the recline function, and there's a great little storage bin beneath. This seat is from Delta One on a Boeing 747, the queen of the skies. What a great seat to ride in around the world, and a great airplane. When I originally purchased this seat, I thought I was just buying the seat itself. When a semi-truck pulled up to the house, I thought I had gone a little bit too far, as did my wife. I had actually ordered the entire Delta One suite. The other half, which contains a closet as well as the footwell and footrest, is out in the garage because I simply could not find a way to get it into this office comfortably. The drink carts are actually from a retired Royal Jordanian L1011 TriStar. I repainted and customized them to suit my needs as a trash cart as well as a server rack. The overhead bin is also from a retired Delta MD-88. Works perfectly for what I'm looking for, which was some nice dimmable lighting for the work that I do, as well as some storage. Works great still for overhead storage. So far, it hasn't come crashing down on me. This window cutout is actually from a Delta 747 as well, cut right out of the fuselage side. The picture that you see inserted behind the windows is off of an approach to Hong Kong at sunset. The desktop is also very personalized. It's made up of boarding passes from all my years of mostly international travel, as well as old passports and other travel mementos. It took a lot of work to put together, and while there were some mishaps along the way, it really came out nicely. Every time I look at it, it makes me think of trips that I've taken and different moments in life. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed the tour.
Wow.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, that is stunning.
Isn't that not amazing? That's incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't wait to go and see that in person. Did you? So you saw all those screens that he had and the and all the video equipment on that desk. But,
well, I kind of did, but I was just looking at all the aviation stuff.
Oh, I know the aviation stuff was
professional
awesome.
Work stuff. I wonder if those seats recline and do all the electric business.
I don't know.
But they certainly look lovely. I mean, the stitching on those seats and the condition of them is really quite remarkable. If they were getting rid of them, he found some that were in really good shape.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, as Liz was saying, I'd love to see the look on his wife's face when the semi-truck pulled up.
That probably wouldn't have been an inexpensive purchase either.
Yeah. Oh, pretty amazing, huh?
Absolutely, and I love the overhead bins and the lighting he's arranged around those. Looks great. I didn't quite catch the light outside his office, the red light. What did that?
Here we go.
On it?
Hi, APG community. Josh from Tulsa.
Okay, Josh.
Captain Jeff.
Let me advance it, and you'll appreciate this. Here we go. Oh, shoot.
I mean, that is a super map, apart from anything.
Yeah, I love the website, Enjoy the Wood. That was the website where he got the map. Well, heck, I'm trying to find... Is it right here? Before the map. Here we go.
There it is, there. On air. Okay. So that's not aviation. That's something else.
No, it's just that's more broadcasting.
I thought it might be a toilet engaged sign or something. And I'm thinking,
yeah, I mean, two of my loves, like all broadcasting equipment,
toilets,
and toilets. Thank you, and aviation and wood. Thanks, Liz.
Yeah, there you go.
I told you I don't share everything on the show. That map though was pretty cool.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah. Everything was, and the thing I really appreciated was that what was the coffee table, I guess, or the JT8D first compressor section, because I'd say of my more than 20,000 hours of logged flight time in airliners, I'd say probably more than 15,000 of it are in airplanes that had that for the power plant.
Well, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that he managed to get it spinning, I think, is also brilliant.
And how shiny that thing was. As he said, it wasn't easy.
No.
A lot of hours probably of labor getting that thing all polished up like that.
Yeah.
I'd never seen one that polished. For sure.
And I love the Pan Am stickers he had.
Yeah.
The paintwork, harking back to the old days. That was good.
Okay. Sure. Let's see here. Yeah, let's do Stefan's audio. Let's see what number, 14? Okay, 14. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. This is from Stefan.
Hi, APG team. Hi, Jeff. This is Stefan, the former, now retired A380 captain from Germany. I'd like to give you some feedback to latest episode. I think it was 523, and the information about the reactivation of Lufthansa's A380. And there was a big question about why it took so long, why it takes until 2023 that they're being used again. Well, they are really in deep storage. That means that each aircraft needs about 5,000 maintenance hours to get fit for flying again.
Wow.
And they cannot really do all the those work at the storage place. So initially they put in, I think, like 2,000 or 3,000 maintenance hours to get them just flying again back to Frankfurt. With gear down ferry, because after sitting such a long time in the desert, they have to perform a gear swing, and you really don't like to do that in open space. And so that's why they do minimum maintenance work to get it flying. There's not even the toilets are working, nothing is working on this aircraft. So the pilots have to be creative when they're flying the 2 hours back to Germany, and then they do the rest of the work. Some of them are even going straight into a D-check, and well, it's a lot of work be done on this aircraft. That's why it takes so long. And also they are only just a couple pilots left fully certified as trainer to re-qualify all the other crew members which later on wanted to fly the airplanes. And by the way, they are only initially going to reactivate, I think, not more than 4. Actually, they're only going to use 3 aircraft next summer, so it's a slowly reactivation. And as you have mentioned before, there are only 8 left anyhow. And well, that's it. Why it takes so long? It's just a lot of work, and you also have to re-qualify all the cabin crews. You have to re-qualify all the documentation, which has been, you know, in COVID times, just been sitting around for 2 years, and nothing have been done with that. That's why it takes so long. To make a long story short, you also have some stories about tug failures, pushback without a tug, broken push rods and everything in the latest episodes. I don't know if you ever talked about the incidents in JFK with an A380 where the tow tug was turned around 180 degrees and basically broke the neck of the nose wheel gear. It had to be changed, by the way, as well in New York, and there they had to perform a gear swing in open space, which is always a bit risky because the wind is not allowed, or has to be less than, I think, 15 knots for the whole time when you put the aircraft on jacks. Well, it's a long story, so I make it now short. Thanks again for the great podcast. And Jeff, I'm awfully sorry that I missed you at Oshkosh. Bye-bye.
I, too, am very sorry that I missed you at Oshkosh, Stefan. I left right before you arrived, or the same day, I think. And we'll have to do it again sometime, some other place. I am now realizing that he included this video, and while I'm speaking, I am downloading it so that I can play it. And I think I have it downloaded, so let me share this video with you all. And here we go, if I can find out what the name of it is. Airbus A380 towing accident. That's got to be it. Here we go. Okay, we're looking at some surveillance video, it looks like. A video of another video screen. And here's a Lufthansa A380. Uh-oh. Yikes.
Yeah, yes.
Wow. How did that happen? It's just going too fast?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the inertia of those hundreds of tons with the...
That's no small tug either.
No, it's not. But compared with that aircraft... Wow.
Wow.
I mean, completely spun. We had one go just over 90 degrees, jackknife to 90 degrees.
Wait, it's still moving.
Oh, God.
What? Oh, okay. So it's still. I thought it broke.
He's still trying to pull it.
I think the toe is.
I
back
don't
under
think that's.
control now.
Well, I suppose he's halfway across a damn runway.
Oh no. Where was
But
this?
I
that
mean,
happened?
why would you try and still tow it from the nose wheel when you've just twisted it through 180 degrees? I mean, the thing's going to be completely knackered.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Nick. I was just watching the video.
No,
and
it
going,
was
"What? It's
it was
moving
bad
still."
enough for us just having exceeded, because the limit was 72 degrees, I think, to turn the nose wheel, and this tug jackknifed and went to 90 degrees on slippery, icy conditions. And that was bad enough. But this, having turned the nose wheel completely backwards, I'm not surprised they needed to. Wow.
I was sent up to Minneapolis, I think, back when I was a MD-88 captain, to pick up a jet and ferry it back to Atlanta. That the towing, the tug had exceeded and I forgot exactly what the maximum range was, but it was around 90 degrees, and you weren't allowed to go more than that because you would damage the aircraft, and that's what happened. They went more than whatever that restriction was, and there were like big, like sheet metal buckle stuff inside the nose wheel and everything else. But I guess they figured out that they could safely. I guess they swung it. They could. We could fly the airplane and retract the landing gear and fly it back to Atlanta, but they didn't want to use it in revenue service, in that condition. They had some repairs to be made, but yeah, it was a little bent up and buckled here and there.
Well, I was taxiing into Dubai and saw a Emirates A380 with its nose wheel twisted more than 90 degrees, and it had only just happened during pushback, and didn't go that far, and it was just a whole bunch of engineers just scratching their heads looking at this nose wheel that was cocked just such a ridiculous angle. And I often wondered how badly damaged that one was.
Yeah. Well, these airplanes are pretty cheap in aviation.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It doesn't cost very much. No.
No. God.
Well, that's the problem, you see. You've hate to say it, but you've got someone there who's pulling this vast airplane, perhaps without a true appreciation of the mass of what he's tugging along.
Right. Well, just like that incident that we saw at LaGuardia with the American, what was it, a 737 that crashed right into. Yeah, I got the Boeing on the head.
Oh
yes,
yeah, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. Anyway, so thank you, Stefan, for sending that in and explaining to us why it takes so long to get these things back into service, and that makes sense when you think about all
a lot of man hours, golly. Yeah. I mean, that's a hell of a financial commitment, so they must think it's worthwhile. But
yeah,
golly,
they must. Okay. Oh, look at that. Okay, so real time here. Neil in our live audience says, looks like the Enjoy the Wood website is still trading. $169 for that map, but now it's discounted 50% right now. So head over to enjoythewood.com.
Well, I don't know. That version looked pretty big, and Neil also says the 300 by 175 is 698.
Oh,
so
wow!
I'm not know which version.
100 centimeters. How
was on that wall?
That? About 3 feet. Okay.
Yeah, the $700 $698 is quite a lot. Mind you,
the one that Josh has has got to be the larger
one. I thought.
Yeah,
but
wow.
If you got a 50% discount, then that's might be in reach of some people's wallets.
Yeah, and help the Ukrainian people too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, very good. We're going to wrap this thing up right now. And wow, enjoyed the show. Lots of good stuff. And we hope you enjoyed the show as well. And we're going to tell you about our website, airlinepilotguy.com. Lots of great stuff there. We're not going to go into all the different things there. Just know that you should go there and check it out. And we are also on social media. And Captain Nick, would you like to do that? Or
happily, yeah.
Okay.
On Facebook, you can find us at Airline Pilot Guy, all one word. We're on Twitter, where we're at APG Crew. And, of course, on the Instas as well, which is very similar, but without the at, just APG Crew.
Very good. And, of course, we are also on that quasi-social media thing called Slack. And Hillel's going to maybe tell... Hey, Hillel, can you tell us about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
Got it in just in time. All right.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. All right. Let's hear Hillel tell us about this wonderful Slack thing.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
I need a towel. I got shampoo in my eyes.
Sorry. All right, we'll get one to you as soon as we can. But we have to wrap up the show, and of course we have to
throw
say
a bucket of water in his face.
we also have to say a big thank you to our producer director
thank you,
Liz.
Liz.
Oh,
Well
there
done.
she is.
Good job.
Thank you, Liz, for all the work you do behind the scenes and while we're recording the show too. And couldn't do it without you. And also our live audience, thank you for showing up each and every week and helping us out and providing entertainment and knowledge and information for us. So we do appreciate that. And with that, I think it's time now to say see you next week. Wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care and God bless.
Bye, everybody.
See you later.
Bye, everyone.
I'm going to need your recording,
Recorder's
Nick,
off.
because that the very first part of the show.
Yeah.
The rest of it just kind of worked out, but there was like it was like bad.
Okay, sir.
But so I'll just have to use that part of it. Luckily, most of it was really good. As
No
far as your
problem.
connection.
Do you still want it in the Evernote section?
However you want to give it to me, baby.
It used to be called something like
Why don't you just
audio
put it in Jeff's
files.
post edit?
Yeah, you can just put it in the Jeff's post edit, make it a
Just
separate
post
note,
edit, okay,
and
yeah.
then I'll know where to find it.
The only title thing I've got written down is no seawall.
No
Yeah,
seawall.
I'm going with that
That's
one.
really good.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Phew.
You know, that's kind of unusual for us because usually we completely forget about everything that happened at that part of the show hours ago.
Recency bias.
Yeah, recency bias. Very, very true. But I like that one too.
Thanks for staying up late with us, Nick.
Yeah, thanks for staying
That's
up
all
late.
right. It's not even midnight. Oh, it is now.
Okay. Well, and sad that we didn't have Steph for a little bit more, but I guess things are kind of going
she
crazy in
wrote a
her
note,
life
said
right
what's
now.
going on, so she's
Yeah.
got a really hectic thing going on.
But I'm glad she was there to
Yeah.
to say hi, and kind of assure us that she's still alive.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, the audio is in Evernote.
Wow. You're fast.
Did you turn your
That's
recorder
what
off, Jeff?
that's what she said.
I know.
Jeff, did you turn your recorder off?
I did turn my recorder off.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
That's what she
Excellent.
said.
Took me a while to find it, but I got it. That's
what she said.
anything else we want to say to our wonderful audience before we
Thanks for being
end the
there,
broadcast?
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for all your inputs.
We do really appreciate the fact that you support us in this way. And we hope to see you again next week and have a great
We're getting
weekend.
through the feedback finally, so send in some more feedback, everybody.
Yeah, we're getting through the Uh-oh. Liz is worried about feedback, so
Well,
that's not a good thing.
it's either feast or famine. no pleasing her.
Yeah, so if you want, you can send us some feedback at airlinepilotguy.com. No, wait, was it? Feedback at airlinepilotguy.com. Yeah, or something. Hey, Mike Kuipers.
End this baby?
What's that?
Shall I end this broadcast?
Yeah, end this baby.
All the best. Bye, everybody.
Bye.